The hero of our story is a vampire who met a humiliating and shameful end, mocked and ridiculed in his final moments and last breaths. However, he was sent back in time to the past and earlier days. Armed and equipped with his knowledge of the future and what's to come, he decides and determines to gain power and strength and rewrite his destiny and fate. How will he achieve and accomplish this? And what challenges and obstacles lie in his path and way? That is what we will discover and uncover in today's story and tale. In the middle of a raging and furious thunderstorm, the Holy Knight appears and emerges, taunting and mocking his vampire opponent and enemy, who has been hiding and concealing himself for half a year, sneeringly asking and questioning if he enjoyed his time in hiding and seclusion. The knight confronts and faces his enemy, accusing and charging him of being a filthy monster who caused and created many deaths, and admitting and acknowledging that his manipulation and control of the Holy Knights was a clever trick and scheme. The knight firmly declares and states that this monster's role ends and finishes here, and that God will not forgive and pardon his sins from this moment on and forward. The knight draws and pulls his sword, commanding and ordering him to feel proud, because he will die and perish at the hands of the vampire slayer and hunter. The vampire falls and drops to the ground, bleeding and wounded, while the knight scolds and criticizes him, asserting and claiming that his corrupt and distorted form is the definitive proof and evidence of his sins, his deception and trickery of the church, and his rejection and refusal of its judgment and verdict. With a hysterical laugh and cackle, the knight reveals and exposes a shocking truth: that not catching and capturing him all this time was intentional and deliberate. He joined and entered the hunt late and allowed the vampire wreak havoc and chaos and escape on purpose and intentionally. The reason behind this was his desire and wish to take his time to make the elimination and destruction of a vampire who reappeared and returned after a long absence look elegant and exciting and thrilling, and to serve as a warning and message to non-believers and doubters. At that moment and instant, staring and gazing at his executioner's sword and blade, the vampire realizes and understands that this world is governed and ruled by the laws of survival of the fittest and strongest, regardless of his will and desire. Power is the only standard and measure that determines and decides fate in this conflict and struggle. The sword slices and cuts through the body of the vampire, who knew and understood this truth and had chosen and decided to flee and run because of it. In his final moments, with pain wringing and twisting his body, he wonders and questions if that idea and thought of escaping was completely and totally wrong and mistaken. The knight continues and carries on to insult and mock him, considering and viewing his mere existence and presence a mockery and insult of the church, and a desecration and violation of its honor and dignity. As life fades and drains from his eyes, the vampire reaches and extends his hand toward the sky with a heart full and overflowing of regret and sorrow, wishing and hoping for just one more chance and opportunity, and his body falls lifeless and dead amidst the laughter and celebration of the victorious knight. Suddenly and abruptly, the vampire wakes up, gasping heavily and breathing hard inside a tent and shelter. His chest heaves and rises with panic and fear. He feels and touches his neck and limbs in astonishment and shock, finding and discovering them completely intact and unharmed, and not cut as they were in the moment of his death and demise. He looks and stares at his bandaged hands, unable to believe and accept he survived and lived, telling himself he should be dead and gone. He looks and glances around to realize and understand this isn't a dream or illusion. He is sitting and positioned in the tent he lived in before the Holy Knights began and started hunting and chasing him. He notices and observes the marks carved and etched into the wood, indicating and showing the date, discovering and finding that he has traveled back in time to 6 months ago, specifically before the hunting squad started and began chasing and pursuing him. He stands stunned and frozen in the middle of the tent, wondering and questioning if he has truly and genuinely returned to the past and earlier time. He clenches and tightens his fists tightly and firmly, realizing and comprehending that what is happening and occurring is a real second chance, an opportunity that must not be wasted and squandered. The scene shifts and changes to a remote forest near the village of Broadwin, where humans do not tread and walk. There in that location, Eugene lived hiding and concealing from people's eyes and sight, a weak vampire holding his breath and trying and attempting to survive day by day and moment by moment. He didn't crave and desire human blood, but his instinct overcame and dominated him once long ago in the past, and that was the beginning of his end and downfall, as mercenaries poured and flooded in the next day, followed by holy knights 5 days later to comb and search the village. They chased and pursued him for a month, then a year, and eventually found and located him, no matter how hard and intensely he tried to hide and conceal himself. He lived 12 years of fear and terror, feeding and sustaining on animal blood in the forest and wilderness. He doesn't know and understand how he returned and came back to the past, but he firmly decides and determines not to repeat and make the same mistakes and errors. Eugene runs and rushes determined and resolved that even if he dies and perishes, he won't die hiding in weakness and frailty. He must become strong and powerful enough to stop and prevent them from killing and eliminating him, even if they find and discover him. Under the green moonlight and glow, he decides and chooses to change his survival strategy and approach and start using and employing vampire magic and sorcery. Eugene explains and describes the fundamental rule and law of vampires, their ability and power to absorb power and strength by drinking and consuming blood. The stronger and more powerful the blood's owner, the greater and larger the power gained and obtained. Suddenly and abruptly, his expression and face changes as he senses and detects an imminent danger approaching and coming toward him in that dark forest and woods. The water's surface breaks and splits to reveal and expose the Forest Lord, a massive monster with terrifying jaws and teeth rushing and charging toward Eugene. Eugene stares and gazes at the monster in shock and surprise for a moment and instant, then moves and shifts quickly to dodge and avoid the attack, bitterly realizing and understanding that his current weak body allows and permits him only to evade and escape with great difficulty and hardship. He decides and determines he only needs to inflict and cause a minor wound on the monster's body and form, as that will be enough and sufficient for him to absorb and take its blood and gain power and strength. Eugene leaps and jumps into the air, attacking and striking, abandoning and giving up his old style and method of survival, which relied and depended on hiding and concealing his presence and existence. He realizes and understands his previous method failed and didn't work, so there is no need or reason to hesitate and delay now. He strikes and hits with his sword with all his might and force, driven and pushed by a desperate desire and wish to gain power and strength. But the shock and surprise comes when his sword bounces off, broken and shattered against the hardness and toughness of the monster's skin, which responds and reacts with a crushing tail strike and blow. Eugene's body flies and soars through the air to crash and collide into the water with force, blood bleeding and flowing from him. As the monster attacks and strikes again, Eugene wonders and questions if he underestimated and misjudged the power and strength of this wanderer and creature. Wanderers are creatures and beings that roam and travel the wild and are not limited and restricted to demonic zones and areas. And some of them possess and hold magic stones, even in mana-free places and locations. And these stones are more precious and valuable than gems and jewels. Eugene realizes and comprehends that finding and discovering a magic stone could tip and shift the scales in his favor and advantage. But the difference and gap in power between him and the monster is too vast and enormous. Eugene gets knocked down again, realizing to himself that he really slept on the chance he had. He knows this forest boss could take him out before he even lands a hit. The monster's jaws closed in on Eugene, and for a second he wondered if deep down he'd assumed he'd just get another shot if he messed up. But he shut that thought down fast. He knew he wasn't cocky like that. When the monster swallowed him, Eugene's mind flashed back to his old life. Back then, he was always just trying to get by, barely hanging on, doing whatever it took just to make it through each day. His eyes started glowing red. This time, he was locked in ready to fight for his life. Bright magic symbols light up all over his body. Inside, he's hyping himself up, ready to go all in and win this fight. His body changes fast, muscles getting bigger, and he knows this is it. If he doesn't pull it off now, there's no coming back. Stuck inside the monster's belly, Eugene just goes wild, tearing at its insides. He knows if he loses here, that's it, game over, so he's all in, fighting to win no matter what. He goes straight for the monster's magic stone, smashing it without holding back. The monster blows up, blood flying everywhere, and Eugene steps out, proving again that making it out alive usually means someone else had to lose. With pieces of the monster all over the place, Eugene just stood there for a second. He started thinking back to that promise he made to himself, the one about what he'd do if he ever got another shot. He wasn't about to dip this time. He was ready to stand his ground and throw hands. Eugene stands out there under the moon looking totally different with his new power unlocked. His long hair moves in the breeze, and you can just tell he's locked in and ready to go after what he wants, blood and that win. He stood there in the middle of the night, totally on his own after the fight. He realized it wasn't just the Forest Lord's blood he got, it was also the magic stone. That move gave him way more power than he ever thought possible. Eugene stands there, checking out the Forest Lord's body just drifting in the air. He spots the mana crystal it dropped, and right away he can tell it's not like the ones he's seen before. It's bigger and the color's totally off. He figures out that this new power from the crystal lets him cover his skin with these tough black scales. Thinking it through, he gets that if he can fully shield himself with these scales, he could probably walk around during the day without worrying about the sun at all. Eugene started thinking back. He'd first heard about the Forest Lord from some mercenaries. The swamps used to be way smaller, but every time it flooded, they got bigger. That's when the monster showed up and started going after people. While everything was going wild, Eugene grabbed a quick drink of the monster's blood, took out a few mercenaries, and got out of there. After tasting how strong that blood was, he knew he had to come back later and take in all of it. Even with his new power, Eugene's not ready to go head-to-head with the Holy Knight Young Dirt. He gets that he has to pick his fights and chill for now, waiting until he's actually sure he can win. He figures out the knight is crazy good at finding monsters and the undead no matter where they are, so hiding isn't even an option. Now, he knows he's got to level up and get ready to face him head-on instead of just running away. As the sky started to lighten up, Eugene figured it was better to head back before the sun came up. He put off testing out what the crystal could do, saving it for later. Out of nowhere, someone with a sharp tongue starts roasting the fake lord who took over the place and trashed the lake, finally calling out that he's gone for good. The voice thanks Eugene for getting rid of that loser who went out sad, and at the same time the water around him starts acting weird. But then, this strange being shows up and won't let Eugene off the hook. He wants Eugene to own up for messing up the land with all that blood. Out of nowhere, a water fairy popped up and said her name was Miran. She let everyone know she's the guardian of the lake and basically told them this spot was hers. She comes at Eugene, saying the whole forest and everything around it is on her side, ready to mess him up and ruin his life if he crosses her. Eugene just tunes out her over-the-top threats and asks who she is, totally unfazed. That's when she figures out he missed her big speech since most people can't sense spirits anyway. Marian's left frozen and totally lost when he asks again, this time for real. She checks to make sure he's actually paying attention, then Shilly wonders if he caught her roasting him as a bald vampire earlier. She lets him know her real name is Mirian and says she's actually a water spirit. Before the crocodile showed up 15 years back and took over, this place was basically hers. She hypes herself up, calling herself some big-brain partner who cleaned the water so the monster could get food. But in the end, she's actually grateful to Eugene for letting her go and making the place better. Miriam thinks Eugene's pretty smart, figuring that the bald old guy she saw earlier was just Eugene messing around to trick the monster. Meanwhile, Eugene spots that one of his tattoos is suddenly gone. Miriam looked at his tattoos, kinda curious, wondering if they meant he was some sort of fighter, or if they were for people he'd taken down. He just shrugged and said he honestly had no clue. They'd been on his skin for as long as he could remember. He says he was born a vampire, and the only thing he really remembers from the start is having 10 tattoos on his body. He didn't remember anything about when he was younger, but honestly, he was fine with that. Just living his chill, simple life and not worrying about who he was seemed good enough for him. Eugene started thinking maybe those tattoos aren't just for show, maybe they unlock something later on. But before he could get lost in the thought, he decided it was time to bounce. He told Miriam to keep the forest safe and dipped out fast, leaving her kind of stunned since he left right after finally having someone around to talk to. She trails behind him, bored and annoyed that barely anyone else can see spirits. She keeps pushing for him to stick around and clean up the swamp even though it's going to take forever. She hands him some clean water, almost like it's a gift, because this pale, good-looking guy keeps going on about how water from a water fairy totally hits different. She spits out some water and tells him to try it. Eugene just gives her a nasty look and tells her to get away. Miriam keeps chasing after him, always trying to help by cleaning up water or even making more, even if her methods are kind of weird and nasty. She keeps calling him Mr. Nightwalker, hoping he'll finally chill out and stop running. A few days pass, and then night settles over the village of Broadwind. Things got hectic fast when one of the villagers sprinted off to get the chief, spreading the word that the red-eyed monster had shown up. Everyone in the village pulled up, all tense and on edge, thinking something wild was about to go down. But when they actually checked it out, it turned out to just be a massive stack of hunted animals left there for them. No danger at all. They stared at the massive pile of meat, kind of stunned, trying to figure out if they could actually finish it all. The villagers are all confused, trying to figure out what's up with that red-eyed monster. He's got a routine, usually drops off some hunted animals every couple of weeks, but this time he's showing up early, and nobody knows what he's planning. For the past decade, this monster's just been chilling at the base of the mountain, way out from the village, never really messing with anyone in town. The village chief couldn't tell what the creature was thinking, but he was clearly tense. When Eugene asked if he could step into the village for a bit, the chief hesitated, then nodded, letting him in. About 10 years back, when he showed up, everyone freaked out. But as the years passed and he kept dropping off dead animals as his weird way of paying taxes, people just got used to it. Now, nobody really bothered him, they just let him do his thing. The chief awkwardly tries to greet the guest he hasn't seen in ages, and the whole room kind of freezes when Eugene finally shows his face. He walks in with a chill smile, letting everyone know he's finally bounced back from being sick after being stuck alone for ages. He actually showed up today just to drop this good news. Eugene really appreciated how much the village helped him out, and he honestly wanted to do something good for them in return. Everyone in the village just stared, totally surprised, while he told them not to hold back and to reach out whenever they needed help if things ever went sideways. He flashes a confident grin as he says goodbye, making sure they know he's ready to help out whenever they need. He walks out and the whole place lights up. Everyone just stands there, totally stunned and locked in, not sure what they just saw. People in the village start talking, curious if that monster in the woods is actually a half-elf or maybe some noble who got kicked out. He always had a mask on, so nobody ever guessed he was actually this good-looking. Heading back, Miriam the fairy looks at Eugene, totally surprised that he just handed over all the loot to the villagers. She can't help but wonder what he's up to. Eugene keeps moving through the woods, thinking about how people always link vampires to blood and chaos. But in the real world, just showing your face can mean you're not out to cause trouble. Miran isn't having it. She wonders if he's trying to buddy up with these people now instead of just eating them like he said before. He already mentioned he was dipping out in a few days, so getting close with anyone here just doesn't make sense to her. Eugene pauses, realizing he was off about not having any real ties here. Now he knows he can't just sit back and watch what's coming. Miriam freezes when Eugene drops some bad news on her. He tells her there's going to be a raid. Mercenaries are coming for the village and no one's getting out. The thought of everyone getting wiped out hits her hard. They plan this attack just to snatch one kid and hand him over to the local boss, Sir Turwin. They're planning to wipe out the whole village just to cover their tracks, and Eugene can already see how that's going to mess everything up. If he doesn't step in now, those holy knights are going to swarm his spot later for sure. He knows he's got to stop this before it all goes sideways. Miriam can't really see mercenaries wiping out everyone like that, but Eugene still has her guessing. She just can't figure him out. Miriam's been hanging around Eugene for days now, but she still can't figure out what's going on in his head. Eugene just lets her know that it won't be long before she finds out if he's telling the truth or just messing with her. Eugene figures he's got to get the villagers to trust him first so they won't see him as a threat. The fairy doesn't really get how earning their trust has anything to do with the mercenaries showing up. Miriam accidentally runs right into Eugene when he stops out of nowhere. He struggled to understand why the guy suddenly froze, barely holding back a wince. Eugene spots a bunch of guys rolling up with weapons, and one of them wants to know who's blocking their path. With his plain clothes, the mercenaries just assumed he was another random villager, totally missing who he really was. Their whole plan to sneak up on the village started falling apart because they couldn't figure out why things weren't adding up. Someone in the group can't help but notice just how good-looking Eugene is, especially for a guy. They figure it's better to take him out fast since he's by himself, doesn't have any real weapon, and could blow their cover if he starts yelling. Out of nowhere, a mercenary comes charging up from behind, swinging this massive axe, ready to take him out. As Miriam started freaking out, Eugene got locked in, ready to use his powers and shut down the sneaky attack coming his way. 1 second, it's just dark, then a red eye flashes and Eugene's already moving fast, like you barely see him before he's right there, striking hard. Blood hits the floor, and just like that, the plan he set up is in motion. Right then, Eugene remembered talking with Miran, the fairy. He'd made it clear he had to get the villagers to trust him, no matter what it took. Miran thought things would stay chill, but he couldn't help raising an eyebrow when Eugene took out the other guy in just one hit, like it was nothing. Eugene's face and clothes are smeared with blood. He's standing there, locked in, making it clear he's not letting any of these mercenaries walk away alive. The mercenaries freeze up the second they see what he can do. One guy totally loses it and yells out to everyone that this dude isn't even human, he's a straight-up vampire. One of them tries to take charge, telling everyone to chill and hyping up the whole being a vampire is actually a win thing. He brings up that turning him over to the church alive would get them a massive payout, then just goes for it, swinging his giant sword as he charges in. Eugene just grabs the sword with his bare hand like it's nothing. His face doesn't even flinch, but the other guy's jaw basically drops. He did not see that coming. Eugene moves fast, slipping past the defense and landing a brutal hit that leaves his opponent bleeding. The mercenaries start to get it. This isn't just some random vampire. They figure if they can't take him alive, they'll at least try to grab his body. He was getting hit from every direction, and one dude straight up wanted to take his head off. Eugene just slides through the crowd, barely making a sound, but everyone's freaking out because he's dropping guys left and right. Somebody calls him a demon, and another guy tells his buddies not to charge in unless they want to get wrecked. A massive, bald mercenary steps up, swinging a spiked mace like he's ready to smash Eugene right there. Eugene catches the heavy hit with his hand, and the mercenary freezes up, not expecting him to stop it like that. Eugene sees the sun starting to go down, and right away he knows he's got the upper hand. He smashes his opponent's weapon, then finishes him off with a brutal hit. After that, he owns the night, making it clear this is his turf. Eugene stands there, bodies all over the place. He figures now's probably the best shot to clean up any blood and cover his tracks. The mercenaries totally lose their nerve, panic hits hard, and they start yelling for everyone to rush him at once since there's no way any of them can take on that monster alone. Not long after, the villagers showed up with torches, the chief out front. Everyone looked like they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The chief stands there just staring at the wrecked bodies on the ground, totally thrown off. He can't wrap his head around how things got this messed up. One guy in the crowd just loses it and throws up when he sees the mess, while the chief eyes Eugene, not really buying it, and wonders if he really went that hard on his own. Eugene shuts it down quick, saying he just walked in on everything after coming back from checking his traps out in the woods. Eugene gestures toward the bodies, letting everyone know the mercenaries got jumped before they could even reach Broadwin. Then, with a quick wave, he calls out who he really thinks is behind it all. The villagers stopped in their tracks when they saw the bodies of black wolves scattered with the dead. Eugene keeps it cool, spinning a story about rolling up and seeing a whole pack of wolves tearing into the bodies. He says he took out a few and the rest bailed but could still be lurking around. The chief just stares, kind of stunned that Eugene could handle those wild wolves all by himself. A villager checks out the bodies and points out the obvious wolf claw marks to the chief. That's enough proof at first to clear Eugene's name. Someone else in the village backs up the story, pointing out that every person who died got taken out by wolves. The chief felt really embarrassed for not trusting Eugene and said sorry. Eugene just took it cool and let it go, not making a big deal about it. Eugene couldn't just walk away from the bodies, so he wanted to know what would happen to them. The chief ended up choosing to bury them in the village. Meanwhile, Miran was off to the side, quietly throwing shade at Eugene, basically calling out how he never says anything straight. Turns out, the wolves didn't even start the mess. They just showed up after Eugene had already taken care of the mercenaries. He ended up taking out the wolves too. He grabbed the jawbone from a dead wolf and went to work, leaving bite marks and cuts on the mercenaries' bodies. He did all this on purpose, just trying to make it look like the wolves were the real killers and cover up what he'd actually done. Miran can't help but think about why Eugene cares so much about what the villagers think of him. Sure, covering up what he did is smart, but he could have just bounced and let everyone talk. Instead, he sticks around trying to keep his name clean. Miran, the fairy, could tell he had something going on in his head as he walked up to the village chief looking all serious. Eugene explained to the chief that he'd already checked the bodies, looking for anything he could give back to the families. But instead, he came across a sealed letter and handed it over, asking the chief to take a look. The chief grabbed the letter, his hands not exactly steady. As soon as he spotted the seal, he knew right away. It was Lord Terwin's, the guy who ran the whole area. The chief's eyes go wide as he reads the letter, totally thrown off by what's on the page. He just stares at it, barely able to get his voice out, trying to figure out if any of this is real. Out of nowhere, the chief spun around and started calling out for a kid named Villied. Someone in the crowd let him know Villied was still somewhere inside the village. Villied just chills inside, casually working through his meal, totally unbothered. At the same time, the letter drops some wild info. It turns out this kid could actually be Lord Terwin's secret son. The village chief finally gets what's going on. These mercenaries aren't here just to mess things up for no reason. They're locked in on that one kid, and it hits him hard when he figures out that a noble's been chilling in their village this whole time without anyone noticing. Back on the battlefield from earlier, the mercenary captain just stood there, stunned at how Eugene was wiping out his squad with unreal power. Eugene's all over the place, darting between the mercenaries faster than anyone can keep up. He just tears through them with his bare hands, not even giving them a split second to do anything about it. The mercenaries see right away that running for it is basically game over, so when one of them just lets out a yell, it snaps everyone into action. Suddenly nobody's hesitating, they're all in, ready to throw down. They hype themselves up, reminding each other that, monster or not, he's still just one guy with 2 arms and 2 legs. Then, all together they charge at him, not holding back. The mercenary captain can't even run, his injuries got him stuck, and he's totally frozen with fear. All he can do is mentally roast his own bad luck for dropping this absolute nightmare on him right now. He walks up behind Eugene, moving in with a calm, confident stride. Eugene comes in strong with a brutal kick, smashing right through his armor and sending him crashing down. The captain gets slammed into a huge tree, hitting it hard enough that he spits up blood from how bad it hurts. He's down on the ground, dragging himself through all the fallen guys around him, trying to get Eugene to stop. The captain, clearly freaked out, wonders if Eugene had been lurking since the beginning, just watching them and planning to go after their group in particular. He tries to explain himself, saying they were just doing what they were supposed to. Eugene cuts him off, eyes glowing and looking straight up scary. He stares the guy down, wanting answers about this job, and makes it clear he runs this village now. The captain freaks out and tries to say sorry, making it clear he had no clue this was his place. He lets him know they weren't there to mess with vampires or anything like that. The captain finally drops the real story. Turns out, the Terwin family's illegitimate son has been laying low in that village, keeping his identity hidden while everyone else thought he'd just vanished. Their whole mission? Just to track him down? Nothing more. Eugene calls out the captain, not buying his story at all. He thinks it's super sus that so many mercenaries showed up just for a basic search, and he's pretty sure the captain's hiding something. Eugene corners him, trying to get a straight answer about whether they're actually going to take out the whole village. The captain looks thrown off and says no, but at the same time, he pretty much admits Eugene's not totally off with his guess. The captain admits they didn't get the job straight from the Terwin family's main boss. Instead, Kamara Terwin and Bertil Terwin were the ones who actually called them in. Eugene figures out pretty quick that all this has something to do with nobles fighting over power. The captain just says they rolled up with a big squad just in case things got wild during the kidnapping of the illegitimate son, and he basically asks for a pass for going overboard. Hearing the name Werthal Terwin, Eugene instantly freezes. He knows exactly who that is, the guy running the vampire hunter squad, and the same knight who was on his tail before with Jung Dirt, the holy knight. Eugene took a second to figure things out. He knew Bertil was a knight and wouldn't be the type to send mercenaries to wipe out a whole village in front of everyone. The call to erase the village? That was on the mercenaries. They did it to make sure nobody could trace what they'd done. Eugene finally gets why the Holy Knights tracked him down before. It turns out it wasn't something he messed up. The whole village just vanished, and that set off a huge search. That's how they ended up finding him. The captain keeps trying to explain himself, saying he just saw a chance to make some cash and had no clue Eugene was even there. If he'd known, he swears he wouldn't have done any of it. Eugene told the mercenary captain to get lost, not even bothering to act nice about it. He even pointed out the wolves waiting outside, which caught the captain off guard. Dude honestly thought he was done for, so walking away in one piece felt unreal. The captain starts fumbling over his words, totally caught off guard that Eugene let him off the hook. He tries to thank him, clearly not expecting this kind of mercy. Eugene finishes him off in one shot, knocking his head clean off with a move so fast it's like a bolt of lightning game over instantly. Miran just stood there, completely thrown off by how easily Eugene took out that guy. But Eugene had his reasons. He knew the mercenary was onto him being a vampire, and he couldn't risk anyone else finding out. To him, leaving the guy alive just wasn't an option. He points out, with zero emotion, that the wolves around them are starving and ready to eat. Eugene heads back to the villagers, ready to keep his story going. He tells the chief that the mercenaries who died were just guards sent to take the boy to the castle. The villagers hear this and can't believe it. Everyone's caught off guard. Everyone in the village still remembers when Vild showed up 8 years back and how he lost his mom just last year. Now, just thinking about how every single guard meant to keep him safe is gone has everyone on edge. Eugene steps in, saying he's got this covered. He's ready to stick with the boy and get him to the city safely, since he's used to living out in the wild dodging monsters all the time. The chief pauses, not really sure about saying yes, since it feels weird to ask something big from someone they used to be scared of. Eugene flashes a confident grin, acting like he's always down to help out, no questions asked. Miriam sees right through it though, and teases him for pretending to be all noble when she knows he's got that poker face and can lie without breaking a sweat. Confusion hit the villagers hard, and even Miriam looked lost when he heard someone mention knight. Miriam just stares, totally caught off guard, trying to figure out what he's talking about. Eugene steps up and says he's Yan Eugene from the Eugene family, trying to play it cool and acting like he's always been part of the crew. He even throws in an apology for not saying who he was sooner. Meanwhile, Miriam can't believe what she's hearing. She's low-key freaking out that he's pretending to be some big-shot noble. Everything in the village changes real quick. Now, the villagers start calling each other out for how they acted towards Sir Eugene before, since he's actually a noble and not some monster like they thought. Miriam leans in and quietly lets Eugene know he's gone too far with his story. Eugene just hits her with a confident grin, pretty much saying these villagers have no clue what a real noble even looks like, so pulling this off is going to be a breeze. Eugene figures out that even if he pretends to act all noble, nobody around him can actually tell if he's being real or just putting on a show. The villagers crowd around him, all curious about where he's been. Some start making up stories, thinking maybe he was out there in the woods training hard at night, or maybe just laying low to heal up after a tough fight. Eugene just goes with the flow during their talk, saying he stopped hanging out with certain people because of some stuff that happened. That pretty much seals it for everyone. They're all thinking his hunting skills are from some next-level night training. The chief says sorry about how poor the village is, and that they can't really give Eugene anything special. Eugene doesn't make a big deal out of it, he just wants a place to crash for the night and get some rest. The chief greets him like a close friend, even thinking about letting him crash at his place for the night, which, for this village, is a big deal. The next morning, Eugene wakes up and checks out the view from the window in this random wooden house deep in the forest. He glances down at his hand, calling up that skin reinforcement power he got from the forest lord. He looks down and sees his skin starting to change into these rough black scales. It hits him that if he covers himself up with them, barely any sunlight is going to get through. Eugene figures using this power will make getting around way easier during the day, plus it'll help him avoid any unnecessary drama. Miran showed up and started roasting him, calling him a clueless vampire who talks big about being a knight but can't even read. Eugene just shrubs off her teasing and lets her know he's planning to dip out of here soon, so he wants her to talk in a way that helps him out right now. Miran can't believe how fast things change. Not long ago, he was off on his own, just doing his own thing. Now he's got people around him, friends showing up, and he's actually getting invited to join in on quests. It's wild how quick life can flip. The villagers show up to let him know they're set to go, and Eugene, kinda flexing, points them out to Miran. He explains how, just like that, he leveled up his social status, and now everyone's looking at him different. He tells her how people usually trust someone with real status way more than fancy talk. If you show off your rank first, most folks will believe you, even if you're not telling the whole truth. Eugene pulls the mask over his face and gets why the villagers fell for it. They're from a smaller place, not used to wild stuff like this. But he knows if he tried this with actual nobles, there's no way they'd just buy it. Eugene figures it's time to make his stories come true, counting on the rep he's built from all the good stuff he's done up to now. The village chief picks up this note Eugene wrote and starts reading it out loud to the boy everyone's mad at. Meanwhile, Eugene's mind is racing. He gets that if he mixes in some real skills with his story, everyone will buy what he's saying, no questions asked. Villied steps up and gives a quick intro, making it clear he's looking forward to learning from Sir Eugene on the trip. Eugene figures out that if he wants everyone to believe his story, he's got to level up his social standing. So, he decides to show off his full name, letting the boy know he's Jan Eugene from the Eugene family. They headed out together, with Eugene already plotting how he could level up his status by using the kid. They roll up to the edge of Bram's village, spotting the old wooden sign just like they heard. Eugene notices right away that the info they got was actually spot on. Eugene wanted to know if the kid could read, and Villied nodded, saying his mom, who'd passed away, not only showed him the alphabet, but actually taught him how to read. The boy mentions that even though his mom didn't have much growing up, she still picked up reading and writing thanks to someone she really cared about. He had no clue it would be Sir Terwin, and Miriam thought this was the best shot for Eugene to get the guy to help him learn letters. She figured everything was lining up for Eugene right now. Villa just freezes, not really sure what to say since this random knight can't even read or write. Eugene clocks the awkward vibe and jumps in, trying to fix things before they get more awkward. Eugene makes up this wild story, acting like his whole knight status is just for show. He says his family actually lost everything, so he's been out here grinding with his sword, not really caring about books or fancy stuff, just doing whatever it takes to get by. Villied really buys into the story, letting it hit him hard, while Eugene just sticks to what he believes. Eugene's move is simple. Get people second-guessing, then have them trust him. Once someone's locked in and trusts you, it's like having solid armor, you can hide a lot behind it. Miriam couldn't help but roast Eugene for how smooth he was acting, dropping a hint that if he kept stacking up lies like that, people would probably start catching on sooner or later. Villied's face showed he was totally locked in. He trusted Eugene all the way, not even a hint of doubt showing. The boy owns up to judging Eugene too fast, saying he only did it because everyone in the village kept calling Eugene a monster, not someone important. He keeps thinking it's all his fault, like he messed up because he let those rumors get in his head and mess with how he saw things. Vil chooses to trust what he sees for himself instead of listening to what everyone else says about Eugene. He figures maybe Eugene just slacked on studying because he grew up training as a warrior all the time. Viley decides to help him out on the down low, showing him the ropes whenever they get a moment alone, just so he doesn't get roasted in front of everyone else. The boy was curious about Eugene's past and wanted answers, but out of nowhere, an arrow came flying right past his face. Vilid totally loses it and drops to the floor, freaked out, while Eugene just stands there barely reacting as he watches the attack go down. Some bandits stepped out from the trees. One of them started clowning on his buddy for messing up with the bow and missing the shot. Vilid stands there shaking, eyes locked on the group. He can't help but wonder if these guys are here to steal something. The thieves take one look at their opponents and think this is going to be a quick win. They figure it'll be over fast, no problem at all. The guys told Eugene and the boy to drop their bags and dump out whatever they had in their pockets, making it clear things could get real ugly if they didn't move fast. Eugene doesn't waste a second. He whips out his sword, locked in and set for whatever's coming. He darts forward way faster than anyone should be able to, crossing the space in a blink. The leader's head is off and flying before anyone can react, and Vild is just standing there, straight up stunned by what he's seeing. One of the thieves totally panicked and started yelling for his boss when Eugene rushed in out of nowhere and caught them off guard with a brutal attack. Eugene glides around just like he planned, really getting into how smooth his moves feel during the fight. An enemy came charging at Eugene, swinging an axe and yelling trash at him. Eugene didn't even flinch, he just reacted fast, taking the guy out in one clean move. Eugene just kept going, taking out his enemies one by one with sharp, fast moves. Blood splattered everywhere as he stayed locked in, not slowing down for a second. One of the thieves freaks out when he sees his buddies dropping, but Eugene just moves insanely fast and takes him out with a quick hit to the chest. Eugene moves through the fight without flinching, taking down his enemies one after another. As he keeps going, he can't help but think about why people always go after the ones who can't defend themselves. The whole thing just feels messed up to him. As he drives the blade into the guy's neck, he starts thinking about whether looking weak means you deserve to get messed with like this. The thief takes his last breath, and Eugene looks at Villied, wondering if picking up reading skills would actually help the kid figure out why people can be so messed up. Villied just stands there, eyes wide, totally locked in on what's happening. He can't shake the memory of his promise. He said he'd only judge based on what he actually sees. Eugene just looks at him and basically says he can think whatever he wants. Still, Eugene makes it clear, no matter what happens, the other guy won't get hurt. They finally pull up to the busy city market. Everywhere, vendors are shouting about what they're selling, trying to grab everyone's attention. Eugene spots a merchant and a customer going back and forth over prices and whether the stuff being sold is actually worth it. Miran zipped through the crowd, totally enjoying herself, while the boy gave Eugene a heads up about watching out when shopping in this place. Villied breaks down how merchants always rip off outsiders, charging way too much, and the village chief used to fall for it every time. They watch as a guy starts complaining, wanting his cash back since the shop next door is selling the same thing for way cheaper. Eugene knows he has to get his hands on some cash before he can even start stressing about being careful. Eugene tells Billy to hang back for a sec and steps into a store. He heads over to the merchant and puts his skins on the table, basically telling the merchant to name his price. The merchant wasn't expecting to see that many rare black wolf skins stacked up. The merchant glances at Eugene's worn-out clothes and instantly figures he's not here to make any deals, just some guy drifting through. The merchant grins, thinking Eugene's an easy target he can trick without breaking a sweat. He tries to sell him the skins for just 18 silver, saying they're kinda beat up. Eugene just locks eyes with the merchant, his one red eye lighting up. The merchant totally freaks out. The merchant gets all nervous and explains that wolf skins aren't easy to find, so he's gonna bump up the price a bit. Eugene walks up, not saying anything, but his stare says it all. The merchant won't even look him in the eye. He's clearly hoping Eugene would just talk instead of throwing out that icy glare. The merchant lets out a shaky laugh, promising Eugene a deal since it's his first visit, but then low-key bumps the price up to 23 pieces. Eugene lets out a quiet hum, making the merchant think he's not really happy yet. The merchant bumps the price up again, now asking for 25 pieces. The merchant totally loses it and bumps the price up to 27, then 28 pieces, all while Vild just stands there stunned. Eugene raises his voice, making the merchant freak out and ask, all panicked, how much the monster is after. In the end, they land on 30 silver coins. That's all the merchant has to give, and Eugene's cool with it. Eugene steps out with some fresh, classy clothes. As he glances at a sign, he notices the letters still just blur together. They might as well be squiggly worms. Even after Villied tried teaching him the basics, reading still isn't clicking for him. Miran checks out his new clothes and thinks they actually look pretty solid. For the price he paid, he figures they're definitely worth it. Eugene thinks the merchant was super generous, even though it was his first time dealing with all this buying and selling stuff. Miriam doesn't buy it though. She basically calls the merchant a pushover and makes fun of how Eugene describes him. Miriam spots the 30 silver coins and her eyes light up, totally locked in on the cash. At the same time, she's kind of salty that Eugene didn't push harder with the merchant to score pricier silk. In her mind, he really fumbled a golden chance. Eugene just says he needs to stay fully covered so the sun can't get to him. Miriam isn't having it. She roasts him for always hiding away and thinks he should get out more and actually live life, not just sit in the shadows all day. Miriam starts talking about how she pictures noble vampires living it up in huge fancy castles. She imagines them rocking silk clothes and sipping fresh blood from fancy cups, like it's just part of their normal day. To her, if you want to make it big in that world, you've got to have some real ambition. Eugene didn't expect her to know so much, especially since she grew up in a swamp. But then Miriam let him know she was from the spirit world, so she'd basically picked up all kinds of stories and advice from older spirits who'd gone to the human world and brought back some serious life lessons. Miriam tells him straight up that he's got to get serious about learning the Imperial language and those old runes, since he's basically got 2 centuries ahead of him unless something takes him out early. Out of nowhere, Eugene wonders if she can even read, and she just owns up to it. She can't. That night, Eugene was chilling by the campfire chatting with the fairy. Out of nowhere, Villied walked up to him looking kind of nervous and broke up their talk. Villied looked around, kind of on edge, since he didn't see anyone besides Eugene. He started wondering who Eugene was even talking to just now. Eugene keeps his cool and plays it off like he was just talking to himself. He doesn't let it get awkward, switching gears and checking in on the kid's stomach since he threw up earlier. Villied ends up saying sorry for making a mess. Watching the rabbit get skinned for food brought back memories of that brutal morning for the boy, and his stomach turned. Miriam could tell it was just too much for him. Eugene let him know that most people aren't exactly chill with seeing dead bodies. It's not something you just get used to. The boy looks at the clock, realizing there's still a bunch of time left. He tells Eugene he's not even tired yet, and since the night's still young, they might as well make the most of it. Villied's eyes lit up when he realized they had some extra paper. He looked pretty pumped to help out and offered to teach him how to write, clearly glad to actually be helpful for once. When the night lesson kicks off, Villied notices how fast Eugene picks things up and can't help but wonder if learning letters is always this easy. He's honestly impressed and gives Eugene some real props for it. He lets Eugene know he picked things up way faster than normal, stuff that usually would have taken him months to get down. But he keeps it real and says people are hyping him up too much. It's not all that. Eugene starts thinking hard about whether Villy just picking up some basic reading skills is actually going to cut it, since this guy's about to wake up as a noble son out of nowhere. Villiad still can't wrap his head around it. His mom never really talked about it, so he never spent time thinking about it much. Now, it just doesn't feel real to him at all. The boy gives a small, tired smile, looking kind of tense, like he already knows Sir Terwin probably won't be happy to see him. Out of nowhere, a bunch of guys on horses and some dudes with weapons stepped out from the trees, shutting down their conversation real quick. A guy with a chill vibe and a bit of a beard walks up, says hey, and lets them know he and his group can't find anywhere to camp. He asks if it's cool to crash here with them. Eugene checks them out, noticing right away that their gear and armor are legit. The way they hold their formation is tight, too, definitely not your average group of bandits. Eugene clocks that these guys aren't just some random drifters, they're actual mercenaries, way more serious than the sketchy people he ran into before. Their boss spots a kid hanging out with the group and wants to know where everyone's headed. Eugene catches on quick. He can tell the guy's talking like someone who's seen real action, definitely not messing around. Lying right now would just make things sketchy, so Eugene just keeps it real and says they're heading to Lord Terwin's castle. Bartik grinned, letting them know they were all headed the same way. He offered to split his snacks and drinks if they'd let him hang out at their spot. Right when they're getting settled, a young blonde soldier named Robin steps in and basically shuts the whole thing down, making it clear he's not cool with random people hanging around. Captain Bartik pulled Eugene aside and said sorry about the way Robin acted. He let Eugene know that Robin was new to the squad and still figuring things out, so he hoped Eugene wouldn't take it too seriously. Bartik stepped up and said who he was. Eugene went next, calling himself Knight Jan Eugene. The blonde soldier didn't see that coming and kinda threw the name back at him, not really buying it. Robin couldn't help himself and started laughing at Eugene, teasing him about trying to look like a knight when he didn't even have a horse or any armor. Raban steps right up to Eugene, getting in his face with that look that says he's not backing down. He wants Eugene to just own up and say he's not actually a real knight. He jabs his finger right into Eugene's chest, acting all tough and letting everyone know he's never even heard of a noble family called Eugene. Raban's face shifts, pulling off this sneaky, almost evil vibe, and he starts calling out Eugene for faking it. Eugene locks eyes with him, those red eyes not giving anything away. He knows he's already told Villiad he's a knight, so there's no turning back or trying to switch up his story now. Eugene keeps his cool and figures out that the mercenary showed up for something else, not really caring if he's an actual knight or not. Still, he gets that if they keep pushing about who he is, things could totally flip against him. Eugene keeps his hand tight on his sword, hiding it under his cloak. He checks out the group in front of him, counting heads, and figures there aren't that many. If things go sideways, he knows he can take care of all of them on his own. Leader Bartik picks up on the sudden tension and gets how serious things just got. Not wasting any time, he steps up and calls out to Robin, who's always a bit too wild for his own good. Bartik moves fast and lands a solid punch right in Robin's face, shutting him down before he can do anything else. Eugene just stands there watching everything go down without breaking a sweat. Robin gets sent flying by the hit and crashes down hard onto the ground. The leader quickly steps up and says sorry to Eugene, trying to smooth things over. He really wants Eugene to let it slide and not hold it against the new guy for acting out of line. Eugene just nodded, totally unfazed, and told everyone to stay put. The leader was honestly grateful, knowing Eugene could have made things way worse. Eugene knows people are going to start looking at him sideways, so he figures he better step up and show everyone he's a real knight before things get awkward. He wants to prove himself fast and keep everyone off his case. Later on, after stepping away from Eugene, Bartik chills next to Robin, who's still out cold. Robin jolts awake, totally confused about why he just got smacked so hard. The leader doesn't hold back and just starts roasting him, calling him clueless. Bartik loses it and starts going off on him, pretty much calling him out for coming at a night like it's no big deal. It's like Bartik can't believe this guy isn't even scared, almost like he has a death wish or something. The leader smacks him on the head again, pretty much telling him he just saved his life and that everyone else almost got taken out because of what he did. Raban starts talking trash about Eugene, thinking there's nothing to worry about since Eugene just looks like some random guy with a short sword. The leader calls him out for being clueless and only looking at the surface, saying Raban never really sees what's coming. The leader turns to him and wants to know what he thinks Eugene's cloak is worth. He points out that it's made from top-tier lycanthrope leather, and even the lowest grade of that kind goes for more than 10 silver coins. Rabin just froze when he saw the price tag on the cloak. That thing cost as much as he made in 3 months. The leader drops another hint. Eugene's got a letter in his hands, which means he can actually read and write. Definitely not something just any regular guy could do. That pretty much proves he isn't just some random commoner. The leader finally drops the truth. Eugene was seconds away from pulling his sword. If he had actually gone for it, everyone there would have been done for. Maybe one person would have made it out, but the rest? No chance. Robin kept rambling on, totally clueless about what was really happening. Meanwhile, danger was closing in on him from all directions. Bartik points out all the little things he caught. Eugene already had his right hand hiding in his cloak, clutching his weapon, and at the same time, his left foot slid back just a bit, ready for whatever was about to go down. He points out that only someone who really knows what they're doing can pull off this stance, keeping his balance locked in so the sword follows the exact path he wants. He tells him straight up, looking freaked out, that if he'd waited even a second longer, Raban would have legit lost his head. Rabani doesn't want to look weak, so he tries to play it cool, stumbling over his words while saying the leader would have stopped it anyway. Bartik stares straight at him, totally locked in, making it clear that this guy has no clue just how scary and powerful Knight really is. Knights start out as kids in rich families, grabbing wooden swords almost as soon as they can walk. From day one, their whole life is about getting good at fighting and mastering every move it takes to survive. They jump straight into random dungeons, pushing through monsters like it's nothing, not even stopping to think twice. These guys build their rep by taking out people in battle, and only the ones who've really been through it get noticed by the nobles. After everything they went through, the fights, the mess, all that, he finally pulled it off and got called a knight. The leader lets everyone know that pretending to be a knight is a big deal, like serious trouble. He's not sure if Eugene is actually a knight or just faking it, but honestly, both options are bad. If Eugene's actually just making it up and still acting that confident, the dude has to be out of his mind. Bartik knows nobody would pull a move like that unless they were seriously ready to risk everything on their skills. Seeing Eugene just reveal who he is, especially at his age, makes it clear he's already on another level. Raban, clearly nervous, wonders out loud if Eugene might actually be tougher than the boss. Bartik's got this tense look and basically says, yeah, that's probably true. The leader wraps up his talk, pointing out that Eugene said he's going to Lord Terwin's castle, probably to check out the new dungeon everyone's been talking about. Since they're all headed that way, running into Eugene again is basically guaranteed. Meanwhile, Eugene's eyes are locked in from the shadows, watching it all unfold. Eugene grins, catching on that being called a knight actually means way more than he thought. It lines up perfectly with what he's trying to pull off, but he's also aware he's got some work to do before he can fully own this role. Eugene checks out the scene, thinking it through. Besides the rookie he just dropped, the rest of these guys actually know what they're doing. They're legit mercs, not amateurs. That gets him wondering, if the Tion family can bring in pros like this, why did they bother with those trashy guys he fought before? And why not just use their own private soldiers? Something's not adding up here. Eugene can't shake the feeling that there's some shady stuff happening behind the scenes. The mercenaries spot Eugene walking their way, and Robin gets a little anxious, wondering what's up with Eugene heading straight for them. Eugene shows his smile and lets them know he already heard they're on their way to Lord Tion's castle too. Eugene sees they're both headed the same way, so he casually brings up the idea of traveling together. He plays it cool, making it sound like it's just a smart move, but deep down he knows teaming up could really work out for him. Robin, the new guy, just froze when he saw Eugene suddenly looking way more good-looking than usual, with his bright smile that caught everyone off guard. Robin couldn't help but hype him up, stumbling over his words and honestly just sounding way too excited. Meanwhile, his leader just stared at him, totally confused by how Robin was acting. The convoy rolls into Martila, a village in the Twin Territory, where the streets are busy and people are everywhere just doing their thing. Eugene moved through the crowd, keeping his face hidden. He was pretty chill now that the mercenaries totally bought his story about being a knight. With them on his side, he saw this as the perfect shot to pick up good info while they traveled together. Out of nowhere, the fairy Miran popped up right next to him, clearly curious about what was about to go down. She called him Lord Eugene, sounding pretty upbeat about the whole thing. Miran let him know she did what he asked and listened in on what the mercenaries were saying. Eugene, not messing around, wanted to know if she caught anything actually useful. Miran lets everyone know what she heard. Lord Tion's health is tanking fast, and it's looking so bad he could be gone any day now, maybe even tomorrow. She drops some important news. There's a fresh dungeon that just showed up in his territory. Word is, if someone manages to clear it, they'll get loaded. The problem? The Tion family is broke and doesn't have enough people to even think about taking it on. Eugene's mind keeps going back to the dungeon, totally interested in what's down there. Meanwhile, Miran can't help but wonder what's going to happen to Vild if Lord Tion doesn't make it. If something happens to Tion, Vild could end up alone again right after just showing up. Eugene just shuts her down, acting like he doesn't care at all. That really sets Miriam off. She starts yelling at him, calling him out for not stepping up and demanding to know what their next move is. Miriam's nerves were all over the place as she noticed the boy could get taken out by his own brothers, just like that, right in the middle of all the chaos. Eugene, meanwhile, kept his eyes on the silent village standing still in the crowd. Eugene starts putting the pieces together and figures out why Lord Tion suddenly called for his illegitimate son. He thinks Tion just wants to see his kid one last time before things end for him. He tells himself things aren't going to stay the same for him or the boy. Something's about to switch up, no matter what. They finally pull up to their spot, and Rose Castle comes into view. Lord Tion's place is no joke. The castle stands tall and huge, looking straight up epic as it towers over everything else. Eugene walks in through the main gate and right away realizes the castle is way bigger than he thought. Marion zipped around him, clearly impressed by the place. She started hyping him up, basically telling him he should grind hard and level up fast so one day he could chill in a fancy castle like this too. Eugene shuts her down and tells her to get inside, not messing around. Meanwhile, Villied just stands there, caught off guard by how Eugene is acting. A guard steps in their way, looking serious, and wants to know who they are and why they're there. Leader Bartik walks up, looking totally sure of himself, and lets everyone know his crew works for the Balin Merchant Guild. The guard, not missing a beat, turns to check who the others are. Right before he gets a chance to say anything, this blonde guy with a cocky vibe steps in. He says he's Kamara, the oldest son and future boss of the Tion family. Kamara just straight up asks, in a pretty cold way, if the carriage behind them has their stuff. Bartik let everyone know the stuff made it there without any problems, but Kamara didn't bother being polite. He just told them to quit standing around and get moving with the unloading right away. Kamara spots Eugene just chilling by himself, not mixing with the rest of the crew. He sizes him up right away, talking down to him and questioning who he even is and why he's not getting involved like everyone else. Eugene walks up, totally calm, and lets everyone know he's Knight Jane Eugene. He makes it clear that Villiad's his responsibility, pointing straight at him so there's no confusion. Out of nowhere, someone's voice cut through, calling out Brother Kamara and basically telling him off, asking what he was up to. Eugene and the heir both turn to see who is talking. Eugene instantly recognizes the voice, not even surprised anymore. Kamara, on the other hand, looks straight up annoyed about it. A knight in a red cloak and shiny armor moves up, making it clear he's just doing his job, checking out strangers like always. Eugene watches him closely, not looking away for a second. Eugene's face goes stiff behind his mask when he hears that voice. He knows right away there's no way he could ever forget how this guy sounds. His mind flashes back to a rough time, remembering the general director from the vampire hunting squad, the same guy who first tracked him down when he was laying low. Eugene keeps replaying those scary moments in his head, realizing this guy is the same one who messed with him nonstop, always teaming up with Jung Dirt to hunt him down. The guy behind the voice was Bertil Theon, the second son in the Theon family. He was their main knight, standing there with serious vibes, rocking a red cloak that made him look even more legit. Bertil looks straight at his older brother, wanting real answers about why he's out here. Kamara shoots him a look, clearly annoyed, like he can't believe Bertil's even asking. He rolls his eyes and basically acts like Bertil wants a report on every move he makes, almost clowning him for acting like he's the real heir of the family. Bertil's face shifts, and he looks kind of annoyed, making it clear that's not what he meant. Eugene steps in, shutting down the family argument without any hesitation. He holds up a letter and lets everyone know it's from Chief Jeb over in Broadwin Village. Bertil reaches for the letter, caught off guard when he hears the name Broadwin. Before he can grab it, Eugene pulls it back. He passes the letter over to Kamara, keeping his eyes on Bertil the whole time. Kamara checks out the letter and his eyes go wide. He just can't wrap his head around what he's reading. It says the mercenaries got totally destroyed by a wolf attack, and on top of that, the kid the knight brought over is actually the family's secret son. Vild moves up, kinda shaky, and says who he is. Kamara catches that real quick and switches up, throwing on a fake smile and acting like he's all cool with Vild joining in as their new brother. Bertil stared him down with this icy glare, not holding back at all. Meanwhile, Kamara let the boy know that their dad really missed having him around. Bertil just barked at the servants, telling them to grab the boy, clean him up, and get him into something that actually looks decent. Meanwhile, Villied couldn't stop staring at Eugene, clearly freaked out. Right as things are about to go down, Eugene steps in out of nowhere and shuts everything down. Bertil freezes, caught off guard, and just stares at him, not expecting that move at all. Eugene doesn't waste any time. He wants to talk about the reward before anything else and says he's only down to meet Lord Tion if his terms are clear. Bertil's eyes lit up with straight-up anger, and he instantly snapped, refusing to believe any of this was real. Bertil, not really hiding his frustration, lets Eugene know his dad's sick and now's not a good time to meet. He tries to wrap things up quick, offering Eugene a stack of gold coins if he just dips right away. Eugene's eyes are red as he looks at them, remembering everything he did to bring his brother here. He's not about to give up or walk away now. Eugene stares them down, making it clear he doesn't want to ask again. Everyone can tell he means business. Out of nowhere, Kamara steps in and wants to know what's up, basically saying it can't work like that. Bertil loses it and goes off on his brother, and you can really see how much drama there is between the two. Kamara thinks they've got to show their dad the new brother, no matter what, but Bertil's not having it. He's convinced their dad can't even stay awake for an hour, so there's no way they should let him meet some random guy who just showed up out of nowhere. Tension builds fast between the brothers. Bertil calls him out for messing with their dad's plans just to suit himself, but the other brother fires back, ticked off and saying Bertil's just twisting everything he says. Kamara glances at Eugene, throwing on a smile that's obviously fake. He acts like he feels bad, blaming his brother for making everything awkward by just standing there like he's invisible. Kamara puts his hand on Eugene's shoulder, acting all friendly, but it's obvious he just wants Eugene to go home and not mess things up again. He looked over at Villid, letting him know he'd handle things from here. He told Villid to stick with him, planning to show him around the castle himself. Villid just trailed behind, not super excited but rolling with it. Eugene just stares, eyes sharp, finally catching on that they never planned to let him see the Lord in the first place. Out of nowhere, the whole place starts rumbling from a loud crash, and this huge shadow shows up right in front of Bertil. That's when Tion, the second son, shows up. A massive dude with bright red hair showed up, just casually hauling a bunch of knocked out guys over his shoulder. He had this wild grin, like he'd finally tracked them down after searching for ages. The man drops the bodies right in front of the brothers and Eugene, who were just standing there, totally thrown off. He points out these guys were supposed to be training, but decided to mess around and steal from villagers instead, so he went out and took care of it himself. Galeric, this huge guy with wild red hair, stands there grinning like he's ready for trouble. He brings up the idea of taking out one of the captured mercenaries to send a message to everyone else. There's a bit of doubt in the air, though, like, is that move really worth it? Bertil keeps an eye on Eugene, not fully trusting him yet. He figures these mercenaries aren't here for long. They got brought in just to clear out the dungeon. He steps in, shutting down Galeric's wild energy, saying he'll deal with the mercenaries later. He points out it's better to head inside the castle and talk where nobody's listening in. Galeric doesn't even hesitate and just goes with it. While they're outside, Bartik, the mercenary boss, glances at Eugene and wants to know if he recognizes that massive guy. He lets Eugene know it's actually Knight Sir Galeric. Bartik's honestly impressed as he points out that this guy just landed third place in the Evergrove family's latest tournament. He says the dude's got real potential as a knight. Bartik starts talking about how Galeric's strength is just unreal, almost like he's not even human. With his crazy skills, Galeric basically wiped out more than 1,000 people in the tournament that day, leaving everyone else in the dust. Eugene couldn't figure out why someone that important would bother showing up in the middle of nowhere. Bartik just pointed out that it probably had to do with the new dungeon that just got found. He lets Eugene know that whoever pulls off the first clear on a new dungeon basically gets famous, since clearing one is insanely dangerous and a ton of people don't make it out. Bartik thinks Sir Galeric is just leveling up here so he can get noticed by a bigger, more powerful family and score that knighthood. Meanwhile, Eugene hears the word knighthood and starts planning his next move, already thinking about what comes after this. Eugene suddenly looked over at Bartik and brought up that his contract was about to run out today. The leader checked to make sure he heard that right. Eugene, hiding his face behind the mask, grinned in a way that made it hard to tell what he was thinking. He looked at Bartik, ready to see if he could drop a fresh request this time. That night, Kamara chills inside the castle, watching Bertil go off on the mercenaries. Deep down, he's fully set on opening the dungeon himself. No way he's letting anyone else have that chance. He couldn't stop thinking about his brother Bertil. Ever since their dad got sick, Bertil started going after the air spot, no holding back. Bringing in a top-tier knight like Galeric, plus all those connections. Yeah, it was obvious what Bertil was up to. Kamara knows for sure his brother's going all in to crack open the dungeon on his own. If Bertil actually pulls it off, everyone's going to start backing him, and Kamara's spot at the top is basically in danger. Kamara's just stuck, not sure what move to make next. He can't just grab any random guy to handle something this serious, so he sits there, lost, trying to figure it out. Kamara was deep in thought when his servant suddenly showed up, letting him know that Sir Eugene wanted to see him. That caught Kamara off guard. Kamara suddenly remembers he's the knight who brought Villid before. After thinking it over for a second, he decides to let him in. Eugene walked in like he always does, owning the room without even trying. Kamara saw him and gave him a respectful nod, calling him Sir Eugene. Kamara jumps in before Eugene can say anything, telling him not to stress about the boy getting picked on and letting him know he's always looking out for him. He points to his seat, making it clear Eugene can chill there, and says his dad will hook him up with the reward once he wakes up. Kamara was honestly glad that Eugene gave him the letter right in front of Bertil. It gave him a small win, letting him hold his own around his rival brother for once. Eugene gives a quick, thankful smile, but then his whole vibe shifts. He starts thinking about how weird it is to step into someone else's family business like it's not really his place. Kamara cuts straight to it, wanting to know what Eugene's deal is and why he's here. He asks if Eugene actually wants to see his dad face to face to check how he's doing. Eugene nods, yeah, that's part of it. But he's also got something else. He's here to pitch a special offer to Lord Kamara. Eugene stared straight at him, not holding back at all, and just laid it out. He wanted him on the dungeon subjugation squad. Kamara just lost it and started laughing, totally sarcastic, because the whole thing was so weird he couldn't even hold it in. Kamara can't stop laughing, wiping his eyes as he thinks about how Eugene is way funnier than he thought he'd be. He can't help but mess around, wondering if Eugene's really a knight or just pretending. Kamara steps up and calls him out, bringing up all the stories going around about him taking out 5 bandits. He questions if the guy just wants to roll with the squad to make himself look good as a knight, and honestly wants to know why he should even bother with this whole thing. Eugene flashes a confident grin, knowing his offer is the best move for Lord Kamara right now. Eugene lays out his deal. He and his crew only want 100 silver coins, and they're cool with just half the byproducts, except for the magic stones, which he's not even asking for. Kamara's face switched up. He looked serious, kind of eyeing the deal like something was off. He could tell right away this offer was way too good, like way under what stuff usually goes for. Eugene just stared him down and pretty much let him know, straight up, that he needed to decide if he was taking it or not. Eugene flashes that knowing grin, basically letting Kamara know that he's not the one rushing. Kamara's the one stressing out. Eugene kept breaking down his offer, making sure everyone got it. If the dungeon actually opened, he'd take 100 silver coins for himself and his crew, plus half of whatever loot they found. He made it clear he wasn't counting magic stones in his share. Kamara runs the numbers in his head and honestly thinks the deal is so good it almost feels sus. He checks with Eugene, making sure he knows this price is way under what anyone else would pay. Now Eugene's basically got to decide, either take the offer or shut it down straight up. Kamara checks out Eugene and starts sizing him up right away. He notices that Eugene looks like some lone knight, not the type who's got a rich family backing him up. Knights like that, they're all about honor, not chasing cash. So Kamara figures for Eugene, honor's probably everything. Kamara thinks Eugene is that type of guy who doesn't care about money or flashy stuff, picturing him as some chill knight who's just built different. He figures that's probably why Eugene's offer was so low. Kamara knows this offer is something he can't pass up, but Eugene just shoots him a confident grin, letting him know he's not the one under pressure here. Kamara's the one who needs to move fast. Kamara figures out that Eugene isn't just some regular knight who only uses brute force. This guy's actually smart. He knows how to play people and twist things so it all works out for him. Kamara sees Eugene's on another level when it comes to handling the game. Kamara starts to see Eugene in a new light. There's something clever about him that most knights just don't have, and honestly, Kamara respects that more and more. Kamara thinks it over and decides to go for it. He knows there's no point saying no to a deal this good, so he reaches out and shakes Eugene's hand, pretty pumped to start working together. Eugene breaks down why waving magic stones actually makes sense. Purifying them is a pain and costs a lot, but the other stuff that comes from them sells right away for full price. That means you get your money faster, and it's just way easier to cash out. He thinks back to when Eugene wanted Bartik to hook him up with a legit merchant guild he trusted just to help sell some stuff. Bartik was all in and grinned wide, showing he was cool with it. Kamara puts his hand out, pretty sure Eugene's gonna say yes to what he's offering. With the way things are set up, Kamara doesn't see any reason why Eugene would turn him down. Now they're in the meeting room with Knight Galeric sitting across from Bertil. Bertil can't believe they're even talking about tossing new guys into the squad this late. It just sounds wild to him. Galeric, though, is dead serious and makes it clear the dungeon isn't some place for rookies to mess around. Galeric holds his dagger up, making it clear he runs things with zero chill. In this place, it's all about survival. Either you keep up or you're done for, no second chances. Bertil made it clear he wasn't about to mess around with any weak skills that could hold the squad back. He was already expecting the worst, especially since this knight was picked up by his brother Kamara. He figured his brother wasn't really cool with the nobles next door and didn't know a ton of people either. He tells Alfredek to handle the new knight on his own if they run out of options, and the knight honestly didn't see that coming. Kamara walks into the meeting room running a bit late. He lets everyone know he got held up talking with the new knight. Kamara put on his best fake smile and let everyone know that Eugene was officially joining the subjugation squad. Eugene slipped in right behind Kamara, rolling in with Bartik's squad of mercs. Bertil checks out Eugene and his squad, realizing this is the same guy who was running that rough-looking crew he spotted before. Bertil Tion steps in, cool and confident, saying there's no way they can let someone join when nobody even knows what he can do or where he's from. Kamara stays cool and backs up Eugene's skills without hesitation. Meanwhile, Bertil and Galeric keep an eye on things, not fully buying it yet and just watching how it all plays out. Kamara brings up that bandit crew that's been messing things up at the edge of their territory. It's been a problem for a while, and nobody's managed to handle it yet. Kamara pulls out his secret move, letting everyone know that Sir Eugene soloed that whole squad with just a short sword on the way over. He's curious if showing off this kind of skill will actually get the others to trust him. Out of nowhere, a dagger comes flying straight at Eugene, moving so fast he barely has time to react. Eugene stays cool and knocks the dagger away like it's nothing, sending it flying straight into the wall behind him so hard that it sticks. Everyone watching just stares, kind of blown away by how clean he handled it. Galfredik showed up with a wild grin, looking like he was ready for whatever came next. Galfredik throws out an obvious fake apology for how he acted when they first met, but still manages to take a jab at Eugene. He points out that Eugene's skin is spotless and he doesn't have a tan, basically calling him out for living an easy, pampered life. Galfredik stands tall right in front of Eugene, his eyes basically daring him to step up. He looks ready for whatever's next, almost challenging Eugene to show what he's got, tossing out that young master title just to make things interesting. Word gets out fast, everyone's phones blow up, and the whole town crowds into the square. People are hyped, yelling and trying to catch a glimpse, because Sir Galfredik is actually throwing down with someone right now. Everyone's attention shifts to the castle square, where the crowd's hyped to see what the knight who came in third at the big tournament can actually do. Everyone in the crowd starts talking, some looking scared, others just straight up impressed. They've heard stories about how he can rip monsters apart without even trying, and now they can't help but wonder if this guy's even real. Eugene just stands there, totally chill, even with this absolute beast in front of him. Meanwhile, someone watching starts to actually feel kind of bad for him. Galfredik pulled out his massive sword, grinning like he knew exactly what was about to go down. Eugene grabs his sword and copies the way Galfredik stands, getting ready just like him. The ref calls out, the bells go off, and just like that, the duel kicks off. Galfredik charges in fast, not wasting a second. Blades smash together, throwing sparks everywhere like it's a real fight you'd see in a highlight reel. Eugene's opponent started swinging hard and fast, but Eugene stayed locked in, blocking every hit like he'd done it a million times. Shards flew everywhere from how hard they were clashing, making it clear neither of them was holding back. Galfredik grins, clearly enjoying himself as he taunts Eugene, pushing him to step up and take the challenge. The hits just keep coming non-stop, and Galfredik has no choice but to back off. He's taking a ton of damage and trying his best to tank every blow, but it's getting rough. The mercenaries are glued to the duel, totally caught off guard by what's happening. The rookie can't help but wonder if Galfredik is just getting pushed around and not even putting up a fight. But Commander Bartik sets him straight, pointing out that Galfredik isn't losing. He's just checking out how his opponent moves and figuring out his next move. Eugene keeps going all out with his attacks, thinking he's got the fight on lock, but Galfredik is just letting it happen, totally on purpose. During these moments, Galfredik really locks in on his opponent, watching every move. He notices the guy's sword swings are way sloppier and more unpredictable than he thought. There's no real pattern, no set way he fights, which makes it tough for Galfredik to figure out what's coming next. Galfredik realizes this fighting style isn't something you learn in a dojo or from a teacher. It's wild, raw something only someone raised out in the wild would pick up, just going off pure instinct. Eugene catches Galfredik staring at him, sizing him up. Then Galfredik just flashes this smug grin and calls him out, straight up saying he faked being a knight. Galfredik doesn't hold back and calls out Eugene, saying his moves are all over the place. He points out that Eugene has no real training, just crazy raw strength and speed, but his fighting style looks pretty sloppy. He points out that being a knight isn't just about swinging a sword, but after trading a couple hits, he gets it. Sometimes that's all it takes to see what's real. Eugene doesn't waste time, he just goes for it, launching an attack at Galfredik because the dude honestly talks way too much. Galfredik just tanks the hit, grinning like he's having the time of his life. He's basically daring Eugene to take him down if he wants him to stop talking. The fight speeds up, and suddenly the whole arena is wild swords flying everywhere, fists and blades clashing non-stop. Galfredik swings his sword hard, landing a heavy hit as Eugene scrambles to block it. The two sides crash together so hard that an explosion ripped through the place, sending dust everywhere and making it impossible to see what was going on. The crowd goes wild, everyone hyped up as Bertil flashes a confident grin. He's sitting there thinking he might have just knocked Eugene out cold. Out of nowhere, the dust cleared and a creepy red eye started glowing. Eugene showed up moving super fast, almost like he was about to jump right at them. Galfredik blocks the hit, and for a second he's thrown off by how fast Eugene's picking things up right in the middle of the fight. Eugene and Galfredik go at it, trading blows so fast it barely even looks real. Eugene starts matching Galfredik's wild style, and then they clash so hard both their swords snap. Both warriors ditch their busted swords at the same moment. Their hands lock tight, both of them leaning in until their faces almost touched. Neither one backed down, both staring each other down, locked in a silent standoff. Galfredik can't help but crack up, honestly impressed at how Eugene's pulling off all this insane strength, even though he's nowhere near as big as he is. Galfredik locks eyes with his opponent. In that moment, he just has to accept it. This dude's strength is on a whole other level, way above his own. Galfredik knows his opponent's got serious muscle, but he's not worried. He's been through way more fights and has way more experience, so he's confident he's got the upper hand here. Galfredik locked in, switching up his stance, eyes sharp. He looked ready to use everything he'd learned to get ahead. Galfredik charges in with a wild swing, but Eugene slips out of the way like it's nothing. Galfredik ends up just slicing through empty air. Galfredik goes all out, throwing his weight around and trying to smash Eugene with pure muscle. Eugene stays quick on his feet, dodging every move like it's nothing. While the fight's going down, Eugene spots an opening in his opponent's guard. He gets ready to hit back, already locked in on his next move. Galeric notices right away that Eugene isn't fighting like he does during practice. Instead, Eugene's just reacting fast, doing whatever he can to handle the chaos. He's locked in, running on pure survival mode, adjusting on the fly. Before he even knows what's happening, Eugene blasts him with a heavy punch right in the face. Galeric just sits there, stunned, trying to figure out where this dude even came from and how he's got hands like that. Galeric knew he lost this round the moment Eugene's punch landed. Eugene throws a punch, and Galeric, who's huge, just gets launched. He goes flying across the air like he weighs nothing thanks to how hard Eugene hit him. The knight slams hard into the back wall of the arena, smashing through it and kicking up a huge cloud of dust. The ref, clearly nervous, calls the match for Knight Jean Eugene. Eugene's just standing there, out of breath, trying to catch his wind. Nobody in the crowd can believe what just happened. Everyone's whispering, eyes wide, trying to process how this random knight just took down Galeric with wild strength. Eugene's guys couldn't hold it in. They started cracking up, all proud, showing off that the tough one leading the way was actually their boss and knight. Galeric wakes up lying in the middle of all the wreckage, staring straight up at the sky. Galeric gets up real slow, and everyone's watching him, not sure what he's about to do now that he lost. Galeric walks straight up to Eugene, his footsteps loud, while Eugene stays ready, not letting his guard down. Out of nowhere, Galeric grabs Eugene's hand and lifts it up for everyone to see. He calls for the crowd to hype up Eugene as the winner, and Eugene honestly didn't see that coming. All around the castle, the crowd goes wild, hyped up and shouting Jan Eugene's name nonstop. Bertil stares at what's happening, his face tight with surprise and low-key holding back some serious frustration about how things just turned out. Inside the castle, Eugene sat at this fancy dinner table, looking around while the servants told him Master Kamara had given them some pretty strict instructions. The servant lets him know that Kamara really wanted Eugene to eat right and get plenty of rest before tackling the dungeon, so now they're going to be watching his meals super closely. The servant just waits there, hoping Eugene's cool with how the lights look and what wine they picked out. Meanwhile, the fairy Miran is low-key roasting the whole situation, since there's no way they can admit to humans that vampires actually don't need food. Miran starts joking around, thinking about what would happen if he ate everything in front of him. Eugene doesn't waste any time. He grabs his stomach and pretends like he's already hurting just to mess around. The servants glance his way, looking confused and a little worried as he pretends to get sick out of nowhere. Eugene tells everyone to get out, saying he's got his own food covered from now on. Miran considers letting Kamara know, but Eugene's not really about that. After spending years on his own up in the mountains, he's just used to handling things solo. The next day, everyone started looking at him in a whole new way. Kamara was all smiles, treating him like he was the real deal, calling him the skilled knight Jean Eugene, and casually checking if he got a good night's sleep. Kamara let out a fake laugh, catching on that Eugene was turning down everything he tried to do for him. Rabin storms in out of nowhere, making a ton of noise, and Eugene just looks totally over it, like this is the last thing he wants to deal with right now. Galeric rushed over to Eugene, arms wide, acting like they were best bros and teammates. Eugene wasn't having it though. He shoved Galeric back, looking super annoyed and letting him know he didn't want anyone getting that close. Galeric showed up with a grin, acting like he barely slept because his face still hurt from Eugene's punch. He joked around about it, saying the pain kept him up all night. Galeric laughs hard, showing off his face covered in bruises, almost like he's flexing his battle scars. He looks at Eugene, clearly messing with him, like he wants him to notice every mark. Eugene just assumes Galeric's looking to catch some more hands. Galeric gets hyped about the nice weather and wants another sparring match. Word spreads fast, and soon a bunch of soldiers and mercenaries are crowding around, all wanting to watch. Eugene ends up stuck in the middle of all this, not exactly thrilled about the attention. Eugene noticed Galeric never really cared if he was a real knight, and people weren't doubting him anymore, which was exactly what he wanted. Still, having everyone always around him felt weird, and he hadn't gotten used to it yet. Galeric keeps messing around, clearly not backing down. Eugene just gives him that look, like he's ready for round two. Galeric smirks, acting like the only way to find out what happens next is to just go for it. Out of nowhere, Village showed up behind them. His face had marks from something rough, and Eugene spotted him right away. Villid, barely audible, wonders if Eugene's been doing all right lately. The story jumps back to the torture chamber days, where a guy in ripped-up clothes is losing it, yelling for his master to let him off and give him another chance. Bertil Tion stands over the guy bleeding on the ground, face totally stone-cold and unforgiving. He's just ripping into him, clearly annoyed. Honestly, if the dude had just done what he was supposed to, things wouldn't be this messy right now. Bertil straight up puts the blame on him, saying that if the boy hadn't survived back in that messed-up village, the red-eyed knight would have never shown up at Rose Castle. Bertil's eyes lit up, glowing this cold blue, and you could just tell he was barely holding it together. He was mad, thinking everything would have gone his way if it wasn't for this total screw-up. The subordinate, shaking and clearly nervous, tries to explain himself. He says he picked a mercenary group that was supposed to be solid, but it turns out they totally flopped and got wrecked by black wolves. Bertil isn't having it and calls him out for not checking things himself before making the call. Bertil just snatched his guy by the face, squeezing hard, almost like he wanted to leave a mark. He leaned in, basically roasting him, like he couldn't believe the dude's eyes were even working. Bertil takes one look at his scared subordinate and just locks in on what needs to be done. If those eyes aren't working anymore, he figures there's no point leaving them, so he goes all in and takes them out, no hesitation. Bertil goes through with his threat, and the subordinate just loses it, pain and straight-up panic written all over his face. Once Bertil's done, he barely reacts, just coolly asks what needs to happen next to fix things. Bertil knows he can't take out someone who's already inside the castle and out in the open where everyone can see. But then, out of nowhere, a dark idea pops into his head. He checks out Viliad's body on the floor, thinking to himself that this plan is the only shot he's got, and honestly, it'll take care of the body pretty clean too. He's clearly got something lined up to deal with the kid in the dungeon. Back with Eugene and Villiad, Eugene quickly figures out that Bertil told the kid to sign up for the dungeon squad that's about to start. Villiad just sits there in his room, totally down bad. He starts thinking he only came here to die, and can't help but wonder if the whole reason he got thrown into this dungeon was just so he wouldn't make it out. Eugene brings up what happened with the mercenaries who raided the village, dropping the bomb that those guys weren't just random trouble, they were actually sent by one of his own brothers. Eugene straight up lets the boy know they never planned on letting him make it to the castle alive, and Viliad just sinks. His stomach drops and everything feels a lot darker. Eugene steps up, eyes locked and serious, letting him know there's still one shot if he wants to make it out of this. Eugene comes through with an easy but genius idea. He just has to sign up as Eugene's squire. Eugene tells the guy, who's still trying to process it all, that he just turned 16 and finished his coming-of-age thing. Now, he's free to do what he wants, no adult permission needed. Eugene gives him two options, no in between. He can just stand there and let them end him, like what's happening right now, or he can go all in and fight until he can't anymore. It's finally dungeon opening day. The squad pulls up to this huge gate covered in chains, all of them just staring it down. Nobody's cracked it open before, so there's zero info on what monsters are waiting inside. Galeric steps up and lays out the plan, keeping an eye on the size of the gate. He tells everyone to watch for low-level monsters, stuff like goblins and kobolds, and maybe some tougher ones like trolls or giant spiders. But if anything crazy strong shows up, he makes it clear they all need to bounce right away. Galeric tells the group to check out the dungeon tunnels first. Meanwhile, the porters hang back, kind of glad they're just carrying stuff and not getting dragged into anything wild. They're all hoping things stay chill and nobody ends up hurt this time. One of the porters was thinking about faking an injury and hanging back after the group cleared out the weaker monsters. But his coworker just shook his head, thinking that was a dumb idea. He pointed out how first raids are always rough and nobody ever looks out for the guys in the back. He didn't think anyone should risk their life for a tiny paycheck, like some random stray getting left behind. The porter, who was already thinking about bailing if things got messy, suddenly got smacked hard from behind. Bertil Tion shows up with this intense glare, scanning the porters and clearly looking for Vild. He's not messing around. Everyone can tell he put Vild here on purpose, and now he wants answers. The porter eyes Bertil, kind of sus about what he means, and glances over at the kid Viliad, thinking maybe that's who Bertil's talking about. Bertil looks over at Viliad, who's busy giving Eugene a little bag of snacks. Viliad wants Eugene to come back safe, and Eugene nods, saying he will. Bertil charges straight at them, throwing shade at Viliad for sneaking in like a rat and trashing Eugene for being some random outsider with no roots. Bertil just started yelling right at Vild, basically telling him he was done messing around here and needed to stop wasting time. He tells him straight up, with zero chill, to grab his bag and get moving to his spot right now, no messing around. He notices there's no response, so he quickly moves to grab him, thinking maybe he suddenly can't hear. Meanwhile, Eugene's standing nearby, watching everything play out. Bertil reached out to pull the kid out of the way, but out of nowhere, someone else's hand shot in and blocked him, stopping him cold. Bertil freezes, staring at his own hand. He can't believe it. Eugene's got his wrist locked down tight. Eugene calls out Bertil, not holding back about how messed up it is to throw a kid who's never even held anything sharper than a kitchen knife into a monster-filled dungeon. Eugene shoots him a cold stare from under his mask, like he's really questioning if the guy's lost his mind. Bertil pulls his arm away from Eugene, looking annoyed. He acts like he's just trying to toughen up his brother, but everyone can tell he's not being honest. Bertil steps up, trying to take charge. He tells Eugene to back off, making it clear that he's the one calling the shots, and Eugene shouldn't be bossing this kid around. Eugene doesn't even let him finish, just shuts him down right away. He tells Bertil straight up that he's the one out of line here. Then Eugene drops some big news. This kid is now his squire, his shield bearer as of yesterday. Bertil just freezes, totally caught off guard, while Eugene goes off and makes sure the whole room hears that everyone saw what happened. Eugene made it clear this connection was way deeper than family, basically warning Bertil that if he even messed with the kid a little, it'd be like coming straight at him. Eugene steps right up to Bertil, not backing down at all, his face just inches away. He's got this look that's kind of daring, almost like he's mocking Bertil, hinting they should get moving and loosen up before heading into the dungeon, but it's clear there's some tension in the air. Bertil freezes up and takes a step back, kind of freaking out. He's just standing there, trying to figure out who even told the guy he could pull that move. He points out that taking in a kid from another family, especially one without a dad, isn't easy at all. Honestly, this move could ruin the boy's whole future. While this is happening, Bertil overhears some warriors talking about how the dungeon's pretty much secured now that Eugene and Galfredic are leading the charge, instead of just regular knights who only have the title. Everyone starts talking about how wild the duel between those two was. One of the warriors, clearly salty, jokes that he'd need a whole extra life just to get on their level. Kamara jumped in out of nowhere, trying to play it cool with a fake smile, saying he could trust Sir Eugene with his own brother too. He started backing up his new opinion, saying the boy's basically grown now and already finished his coming-of-age thing, so it's up to him to decide what he wants to do. Bertil glares at them, looking like he's ready to start something. Eugene sees Villied as an easy target. Once someone weak gets noticed by a predator, making it out in one piece gets way tougher. Eugene gets it now. No matter how much the weak try to stay out of sight, the strong always end up finding them. Bertil's sneaky glare basically says it all. You can't really escape when someone like that's hunting you down. Eugene drops some real wisdom in Villied's head, letting him know that if he can't get strong on his own, he needs to squat up. The scout comes back and lets everyone know there aren't any monsters roaming around or sneaking out from the tunnels. Galfredic grinned, looking fired up as he let everyone know it was finally time to open the dungeon. He gave the go-ahead, and the huge gate started creaking open, slow and heavy. Darkness fills the whole dungeon, making it look straight up creepy. Meanwhile, the soldiers are all hyped up, yelling to kick off the raid. Galfredic looks back at the crew in the back. Before he heads in, he lets them know they're on their own now and have to make it out themselves. The squad charges into the dungeon, totally hyped up and ready to go, yelling as they kick things off. The guys kept thinking about how Kamar and Villied said goodbye at the gate, telling them to stay safe and that they'd catch up again in 4 days. Inside, things are wild. Monsters just start dropping from the ceiling straight onto the soldiers. Everyone freaks out, and one guy loses it, yelling for help while blood goes everywhere. Galfredic steps up, hauling this huge sword, and just slices the monster clean in half. He's trying to get things back under control before it gets any worse. Galfredic completely loses it on the soldiers, yelling at them for messing up and calling them out for not holding the formation like they're supposed to. The guys are freaking out, but he's not having any of it. He just wants them to get it together. Galfredic tells the archers in the middle to get back to where they were, aim up at the ceiling, and start shooting arrows again. He told the soldiers to stay locked in and make sure the monsters didn't get through or mess up their line. One soldier totally freezes up, wishing he'd never signed up for this impossible mission. Everything he was scared of is happening right in front of him, and now he knows this whole thing was a bad idea from the jump. The soldier bolts for the entrance, thinking that running is the only shot he's got at making it out alive. He freezes when he spots a bunch of monsters blocking his way back, all of them staring him down with these creepy smiles. Just as things are about to get sketchy, someone steps in and has his back. Eugene shows up out of nowhere, looking totally unfazed, and lets the soldier know he messed up thinking the way back would be safe from monsters. Galfredic grabs the soldier, who's totally freaking out, and makes it clear sticking with everyone is the only way they're getting out of this alive. He tells the crew to grab their swords and stay put, getting ready for whatever's about to go down. Galfredic watches the way these mercenaries move and just knows they're not up to the job. He can tell they were thrown together last minute, and it honestly annoys him how unprepared they all look. He looked around, totally confused about how he was supposed to clear a dungeon with guys like this. Things take a turn for the worse when a soldier runs up and lets him know there are even more monsters on the way. Someone suddenly yells out that there's trouble coming from behind, too, and Galfredic has to snap into action. He quickly calls for everyone to switch up their positions so they're ready for whatever's coming at them from both sides. Eugene steps in out of nowhere, saying he'll take care of the back by himself, even though Galfredic tries to warn him that going solo is risky. Eugene takes off, sprinting straight into the dark like he's on a mission. Galfredic just froze, not ready for how fast Eugene moved or how bold he got. A few seconds later, he started hearing monsters going off and the chaos of a serious fight breaking out inside. Out of nowhere, something starts to show up in the dark. Galfredic freezes when he spots it. It's the same mask Eugene had on earlier. Galfredic quickly gets what's going on and tells Bartik to watch his back and stick close as they move out. Galfredic and his crew take off, but they can't believe how far Eugene got in just a split second, especially with all those monster bodies everywhere. Eugene stands there, totally calm after taking out every monster that showed up at the intersection. He's just holding a glowing flower, not even stressed, and wants to know if it's worth anything. Galfretic shows up out of breath, while Bardic just can't help but be low-key disappointed. Eugene not knowing a basic glowing plant? Seriously, Bardic can't believe it. Galfretic can't help but be impressed by how good Eugene is at stuff, even though Eugene totally blanks on basic things. Meanwhile, Eugene looks down and sees the herb in his hand starting to die. Once the fight was over, guys who got hurt were stretched out in the halls, getting patched up while some of them cried out from the pain or bled all over the floor. Eugene watched as his guys came over, each one holding a bunch of magic stones they'd picked up. He told them to stack everything right in front of him, making sure they all knew where the loot needed to go. Eugene stares down at the tiny amount in his hand, kind of surprised that after taking out so many, this is all they ended up with. He tells everyone to chill for a bit, noticing how the magic stones in this place give off a blue glow way different from the one he got from the Wanderer earlier. Miran showed up, checking out the tiny magic stones, and honestly looked pretty let down. Compared to the top-tier stones, these ones just didn't measure up. She pointed out to Eugene that the better the monster, the stronger and bigger the magic stone you'd get. Eugene wondered if wild wanderers end up with bigger stones. Miran let him know that just because dungeon monsters head out into the wild, it doesn't mean their stones get any bigger. Still, she pointed out that the crocodile he absorbed before was huge and super strong. She lets him know that Wanderer isn't just anyone, it's rare to come across something that could actually roll in and take control of her own turf. Eugene figures out that eating that Wanderer's red magic stone turned out to be clutch for him. Meanwhile, Miran points out that if he keeps going like this, jumping into dungeons and trying to show off for the nobles is pretty much a waste if he's not getting anything good out of it. Miriam starts thinking there might be a strong monster somewhere around here, but then Eugene just stops out of nowhere. He's picked up on something. While the soldiers were ready to chill, thinking they finally caught a break, Galfretic shut that down fast. He called them back, making sure everyone got in line since break time was already over. Galfretic wasn't having it with the soldiers slacking off. He basically told everyone they needed to toughen up, then made it clear he and Sir Eugene were leading the charge. If anyone dipped without permission, they'd seriously regret it later. Eugene stares at Galfretic, kind of thrown off by how wild this situation is. It's his first time in a dungeon too, but somehow everyone expects him to lead. He realizes he has to take charge since the mercenaries are basically useless compared to what he thought they'd be. Galfretic moves forward slowly, clocking that these monsters aren't like the ones they've dealt with before. They're way tougher, and he knows he can't mess around this time. Galfretic lets Eugene know that the goblins probably weren't the real bosses down here, they were just getting played. The monsters showing up now? Yeah, these are the real ones running the dungeon. Out of nowhere, a squad of orcs rolled up, fully geared with weapons, making it clear to Galfretic that these weren't just regular monsters, they were definitely dealing with mid-tier threats. He figures out that once they handle these, there are probably some top-tier monsters waiting deeper in the dungeon. Meanwhile, the soldiers are clearly nervous, trying to keep it together. Eugene thinks back to what went down that day. Right after he ate the Swamp Lord's red magic stone, he picked up a clutch new power. His eyes lit up red while he started thinking if eating another magic stone like that would give him a new power. He snaps back to the real world and checks out what's happening. He lets Galfretic know there are more than 50 monsters moving around about 100 meters out, and behind them, 3 big ones are stomping around. Galfretic grinned, clearly hyped for the fight, and gave Eugene that look like he wanted to see if Eugene was ready to step up and take a shot at him this round. He doesn't even pause, just snatches up a spear and hurls it as hard as he can. He slams his spear down hard, cracking the monster's skull wide open. Galfretic doesn't waste a second. He starts yelling at everyone to go full, send an attack, using the mess Eugene just made to his advantage. Eugene darts through the orcs, moving so fast they can barely keep up. One after another, he takes them out, leaving chaos behind him. Galfretic tells the soldiers to back up Eugene, and they're all in, ready to move. While one of the soldiers waits for Eugene's go-ahead to jump in, Eugene's already caught off guard by a huge orc popping up right in front of him. Eugene dodges out of the way just in time as the huge monster swings at him. He doesn't hesitate, he aims straight for its eye and lands a clean hit, taking away its sight. Eugene notices the monster yelling out in pain and uses that opening. He moves quick, doesn't waste a second, and goes in for another hit, slicing off the monster's massive limbs. He finishes the fight with one solid move, driving his sword straight into the monster. The thing drops instantly, and blood gets all over his face and clothes. That night, right before everything went down, the soldiers locked in the view they'd been waiting to see for ages. The whole moment just stuck with them. Everyone's watching Eugene just tear through his enemies, showing off insane strength. People say his fighting is like a real duel, straight up, fair, and honest. He always keeps it classy and never loses that noble vibe no matter what. Everyone looks at him like he's always got it together, totally unbothered, but nobody realizes he's actually hiding something wild under all that calm. The soldiers suddenly notice that the knight in front of them looks nothing like what they're used to. Eugene didn't have that normal noble vibe anymore. He looks straight up savage, like someone you'd never want to mess with. Even his own guys got nervous before the enemy did. Once the fight wraps up, the soldiers just drop down, wiped out, surrounded by a bunch of dead orcs. Galfredic looks around and sees the troops aren't pushing forward anymore, and it's not just because they're tired. He just couldn't get over what he saw. Eugene in battle was so ruthless, it messed with his head for real. Galfredic looks at the soldiers and realizes they're just not up for it. Going any further is out of the question. Galfred let Eugene know it was time to head back since they'd done what they came for and hit their target, but Eugene just looked over at him, not moving yet. Eugene just shrugs, acting like he's got more than enough energy to keep going. For him, dipping out now would just feel like throwing away a solid chance he might not see again anytime soon. Galfredic gets hyped and lets everyone know that if Eugene's sticking around, they've got to keep moving with him. He's trying to get the crew fired up and ready to go. Eugene throws him a curveball and tells him to take charge of the squad and get everyone out of the dungeon right away. Eugene lets everyone know he's moving forward with just his mercenaries, and the soldiers can't help but stare, kind of stunned at how confident he is. Galfredic catches on that Eugene picked up how tired the soldiers were and let them pull back so they wouldn't get hurt. Seeing that side of Eugene caring, even though he always looks tough, actually made Galfredic respect him more. Galfredic stands there, eyes fixed on Eugene disappearing into the shadows. To him, Eugene just changed what nighttime even means. Eugene and his crew head straight into the dungeon, not caring that it's packed with thick spiderwebs everywhere. Rabin's hand shook as he held his torch, not loving where he ended up. He kept thinking how unlucky he was to get stuck with this job, wishing it was anyone but him. He keeps telling himself that Sir Eugene's got this, like trolls are no big deal for him. As long as he sticks close behind and nothing goes sideways, he should be all right. Out of nowhere, he steps on something that makes a nasty crunch. He glances down, a bit uneasy about what he just walked on. He looks down and realizes he just crushed a tiny spider. Suddenly, it hits him. They've wandered right into spider territory, and he's not thrilled about it. Out of nowhere, a swarm of red eyes lit up in the dark. Spiders closed in from every direction, trapping them and cutting off any way out. Out of nowhere, the giant cave spider shows up. This thing hangs out with a bunch of its own kind and basically melts whatever it catches with crazy acid before eating it. Rabin totally freaks out when he sees the monsters charging at them, coming in fast, and there's just way too many to count. Commander Bartik starts yelling about how there's way too many enemies and they should bounce right away, but Eugene just gives him this cold stare, like he can't believe Bartik's even thinking about running. Eugene charges straight into the middle of the spiders, moving so quick it's almost unreal. He slices through them with his sword, and in seconds pieces and blood are flying everywhere. His eyes light up, showing this unshakable confidence, and he just smirks like the number in front of him doesn't even matter. Bartik wants Raban to help out and watch Eugene's back, but Raban's struggling just to handle his own fight. Eugene catches something off about his follower while he's busy holding down the front. He spots danger coming their way and knows he's got to do something, even with all the chaos happening around him. Raban totally loses it, yelling for someone to save him while spiders start creeping in his direction. A massive spider drops down from above and goes straight for him, jaws wide open, ready to make him its next meal. Raban just stands there, totally frozen, like his brain glitched out from the fear. Right when things were about to go south, Eugene jumped in and sliced the spider clean in half, stopping it just before it could get to Raban. Raban just stands there, eyes wide, totally caught off guard as he sees Eugene right in front of him. Eugene just saved his life out of nowhere, and the way he's standing there now, you can tell he's got that real main character energy. Eugene just slices the spider clean in one move, not even hesitating. Robin watches him, stunned, and starts questioning if the real beast in this situation is actually Eugene. Robin stood up, totally impressed by how Eugene did his thing again. He figured they'd done plenty for the day and thought it was probably time to head back. He looks over at the commander, wanting to know what he thinks, since things seem to be going pretty well. Bartik came to a sudden halt. He just realized something scary. These monsters actually have their own ranks and levels. The strong ones barely ever show up, so when people put together teams to hunt monsters, they usually don't even think about the top-tier threats. Out of nowhere, a huge leg steps onto the webs, and Bartik instantly knows what's up. Only a monster that big could be the top-tier giant cave spider. The Spider Lord showed up, towering over everyone with its huge body and those wild, glowing eyes. Just seeing it made everyone freeze up, their nerves shot. Bartik totally panics and yells for everyone to fall back right away. He knows they're way out of their league against a Lord-ranked monster and doesn't waste any time letting the squad know. He's pretty nervous and brings up calling Sir Galfredic for backup, but Eugene immediately shuts him down. Eugene keeps his eyes locked on the monster, signaling Bartik and Robin to fall back right away. Eugene's eye lit up bright red, and he made it clear nobody else was getting this prey but him. Bartik hears the order and starts stuttering, totally thrown off as this weird, creepy vibe hits him out of nowhere. He's frozen, like his body just quit listening to him. Every part of him wants to bolt, and it's not just the spider that's freaking him out. Eugene's vibe right now is straight up terrifying. Miran just watched as the soldiers took off running, kind of amused at how fast their confidence fell apart. She knew it was because her master was on a whole different level and they didn't stand a chance. Eugene wondered if this new lord was as tough as the swamp lord he fought before. Miran just shook her head, letting him know this one looked way stronger. Eugene grins, realizing that the magic stone inside has got to be bigger too. Eugene steps up to the giant monster, totally unfazed. He's got that confident swagger, almost daring the thing to fight back as hard as it can. Eugene always noticed that when a chest was tough to unlock, he started thinking there had to be something awesome inside. Outside in the sunlight, a tiny spider drops down on its thin web, heading straight for a teacup sitting in the garden. Eugene just flicked the spider off with his finger and chilled in his new form. After taking down the swamp lord and grabbing its stone, Eugene picked up a new power he can blend in with his surroundings now. He used his skin hardening power to copy how real human skin looks, making himself blend in way better. With this new power, Eugene could finally step out into the sunlight without stressing about hiding all the time. He didn't have to deal with all that sneaking around anymore. Someone even noticed and asked if he was out here without his mask now. Eugene's chilling at this super fancy table with a bunch of nobles. Everyone's staring at him, especially after some lady calls him out for always wearing a mask. Turns out, no one expected him to actually be good looking. The rest of the group can't help but hype him up, wanting to hear all about his wild adventures in the dungeon. While the girls hype up stories about how he took down a giant spider by himself, Eugene just stays quiet. Miriam flies right above him, laughing as she messes with him. She knows that just talking to people is totally wiping her master out, and she's loving every second of it. The girls start getting bolder with their flirting, talking about how good-looking he is, and one of them even jokes about him maybe having some elf in his family. Eugene can't believe what he just heard. The idea of people seeing him as an elf sounds like a headache, and he's already thinking it'll make life way more annoying than it needs to be. Out of nowhere, a knight slammed his hand on the table, totally hyped. He acted like he'd just cracked the code and was sure this was the answer to everything. The knight explains that this is why Eugene can see clearly even when it's pitch black in the dungeon. His hearing is next level two-way, better than any wild dog. The knight finishes sizing things up, giving Eugene the sharp look that says he totally gets Eugene isn't your average guy. Eugene just stands there kinda tense, trying to keep his secret under wraps. Galeric stands up at the banquet, cup in hand, getting loud about how wild it is that Eugene might have elf blood. Meanwhile, Robin's just trying to sneak out of this awkward group hug, not really feeling it. Galeric couldn't help but wonder how Eugene managed to stay off the radar for so long, especially with a face like his that totally stands out in this area. He pointed at Eugene, thinking it had to be tough blending in around here. Eugene explains he never meant to keep who he was a secret, but stuff just happened that way. Galeric didn't see that coming at all, and it threw him off. The girls and Robin just looked kind of awkward, not sure what to do with how wild he was acting. Galeric points out how smooth Eugene was with the compliments, and the girls are clearly impressed. Meanwhile, Eugene just sits back, totally chill, watching everything unfold. Eugene catches on that Galeric, even though he comes off goofy, actually sees right through things. He figures if people ever start doubting him down the line, saying he's got elf blood might just work as a solid cover. Eugene remembers eating the magic stone and starts to realize it did more than just give him a new power. That moment kind of unlocked something inside him, like a door he didn't even know was there. As soon as the tattoo vanished, a bunch of memories he didn't even know he had started crashing into his head, all at once. He remembers looking down at himself, just as he is now, stretched out somewhere he's never seen before. Someone's gentle hand is holding his, and even though it's all unfamiliar, that small touch stands out. He was laid out in this weird spot, with bells ringing around and everyone just staring at him. Eugene sits there confused, trying to figure out who that woman was, the one from his memory, just laughing. The more he thinks about it, the more he starts to question if these memories are even real in the first place. He doesn't remember anything about his past, literally nothing. The only thing that sticks in his mind is his name, Eugene. Eugene's mind was racing, but then Robin's shaky voice snapped him back to reality, calling out to him. Eugene spins around and spots Robin totally freaking out, desperate for someone to get him out of the mess he's stuck in. Robin's face says it all. He's really hoping Eugene can bail him out right now. Galeric shows up out of nowhere, grabbing Raban by the neck with a grip that means business. He's messing around, but not in a friendly way, throwing shade at Raban and calling him dead weight for Sir Eugene. Robin starts yelling, trying to cover himself, and basically says he only ran because Sir Eugene isn't even human. He figures anyone else would have dipped too if they wanted to make it out alive. Galeric started pushing Raban harder during training, getting way more fired up and rough. He threw out a question, not happy about Raban possibly calling Sir Eugene a monster. Meanwhile, Eugene just stood there watching the whole thing with zero emotion. Eugene sits there thinking hard. The only name that comes to mind is Eugene. Still, after everything that just happened, he starts to get this gut feeling like something inside him just woke up. He figures out that if he wipes out these tattoos one at a time, the same thing will probably happen again. Maybe that'll finally reveal what's really going on, even while Robin keeps begging in the background. Eugene keeps his eyes locked in, ready to figure out who he actually is. The story jumps over to Lord Tion's room. Eugene and Galfredic walk in, right after Lord Tion hears they managed to shut down the dungeon opening. Galfredic steps up and introduces himself to Lord Tion, saying he's Karima, the third son. He keeps it respectful and lets Tion know he's genuinely glad to meet him. Eugene moves up next, gives a quick bow, and says he's Jan, the oldest kid in the Eugene family. Lord Tion sees right away that these guys have dealt with a lot already. The Lord tells his servant to hand over the reward. He mentions that someone said Sir Eugene needs a certificate to show who he is, even though he doesn't really get why it matters. Eugene gets handed the certificate that proves he's Jan from the Eugene family. He's honestly grateful, sending up a quiet thanks to the Lord. Off to the side, Miriam, the fairy, is already hyped. She knows their plan just worked out perfectly. Out of nowhere, Lord Tion starts coughing hard, barely able to catch his breath. Kamara sees it and bolts over, clearly stressed, trying to help his dad. Lord Tion, sounding completely drained, lets it out that his second son's big dreams keep him up at night. The stress is so real, he just can't get any real sleep. Kamara told his dad to chill and trust him. He promised he'd take care of the place his dad built up, doing his best for real. The Lord grabs his son's hand, telling him one last time that all this land is just dirt. If he wants to be a real Lord, he's got to understand there's something way bigger than just territory. The Lord wraps up his message saying a real leader has to focus on his people, not just the territory. Meanwhile, Viliad's in the background, fully tuned in to every word. Lord Tion's hand drops, lifeless, showing everyone he's gone for good. Eugene looks around, taking it all in. Even though he never really knew Lord Tion that well, he can tell a lot of people genuinely care. Some are actually crying for real. When death shows up, not everyone reacts the same way. Eugene notices Bertil, the second son, and instead of looking sad like most people would, the guy just looks mad. It's clear not everyone's grieving the same way right now. As the sun dropped behind the trees, Galfredic got ready to dip out right in the middle of the funeral. He felt bad for leaving, but Kamara totally got it. He knew Galfredic's schedule was packed and didn't hold it against him. Galfredic glanced over at Eugene, kind of wondering if he was actually planning to stick around. Eugene just gave him this dead serious look, like he'd already made up his mind. Eugene lets everyone know he's heading back into the dungeon. After all the hassle they went through just to get the entrance open, there's no way he's dipping out now. It'd be a total waste to bail before checking it out again. Galfredic gives a small, regretful smile. He thinks it sucks, honestly, since Count Evergrow would have been hyped to meet someone like Eugene. Out of nowhere, Galfredic reaches his hand out to Eugene. Galfredic can't hide how pumped he is. He's straight up grinning, just stoked to test himself against someone as strong as Eugene. He just hopes he won't run into those guys again next time. Both of them grip each other's hands tight, like they instantly get that the other guy's legit. There's this silent nod between them. Real respect. Two dudes who know what it means to be strong. Galfredic heads out on his horse, ready to get moving. Robin watches him go, hoping he makes it back safe. Meanwhile, Eugene tells Bartik to get things set so they can leave soon. Vilad's head is spinning. Eugene literally just said he'd stay put, so Vilad can't figure out what's going on. Bartik, not missing a beat, wants to know what kind of ride Galfredic took off with. Vilad just says it was a horse, keeping it chill. Bartik points out that knights riding horses is just how things go. Bartik started laughing as he laid out the plan. They were going to swing by the Merchant Guild, sell off the monster stuff they'd picked up, and grab a horse for Sir Eugene while they were at it. Vilad's eyes lit up, showing he totally got it. He felt locked in and promised himself he'd have Eugene's back, doing whatever it takes as his squire. Eugene gives him this icy stare, making it super clear he's got things under control and doesn't need any backup right now. Vilad just freezes, totally caught off guard. In his head, he's trying to figure out what Eugene is even talking about, barely able to process it. The view jumps over to Miran, the biggest trading city in Kalor. The place is always busy, packed with people and stuff going on everywhere. Vilad showed up hauling some heavy boxes, sweat all over his face. Meanwhile, a worker kept yelling at him to hurry up and stop messing around. Robin stands in the middle of the crowd, hyping everyone up and saying that one night Sir Jan Eugene brought in all these dungeon materials. He makes sure everyone knows exactly who pulled it off. Everyone in the crowd starts talking, pretty much hyped and curious. They remember hearing stories about this rookie knight, the dude who totally soloed the Tion territory dungeon and apparently yanked a troll's head clean off while it was still breathing. Vilad drops his stuff, looking totally wiped out, and at the same time Robin is all fired up, warning the merchant to keep his hands off their gear. Vilad hangs out outside, keeping an eye on the building and noticing that whatever's going on inside is taking way longer than he expected. Eugene's chilling inside with Merchant Belmore from the Balin Merchant Guild. Belmore's all fired up, basically saying he's got it covered and he'll handle all the materials himself, no problem. Eugene thinks back to when Bartik mentioned he knew a solid guild, but he wasn't totally sold on it. Meanwhile, Belmore keeps going on about how massive their guild is, barely taking a breath. Eugene figures this could really help him out since he honestly doesn't know how people connect with each other. Out of nowhere, this serious-looking guy with a monocle barged in, swinging the door wide and cutting everyone off. Merchant Belmore had just been laying out his best shipping deals for Eugene, even talking about locking down an exclusive contract. But before they could go any further, the new guy stared straight at Eugene and demanded to know who he was. Bartik leaned in close to Eugene, looking kind of stressed, and let him know things were getting messy. Eugene noticed right away and wanted to know what was up. Bartik points out that this guy works as a secretary for the deputy manager at the Baleen Merchant Guild, so it's clear someone important just got involved. Bartik kept talking, making it clear to Eugene that he was trying to use the situation for his own gain. Secretary Grail had way more leverage than Merchant Belmore, who they were actually trying to seal the deal with. Bartik saw a chance to get ahead and wasn't about to let it slide. He throws some low-key advice at Eugene, basically letting him know that if he wants to lock in a solid trading partner, he should play it safe for the time being. Belmore steps in, trying to stop what's happening by saying he's still working out the deal with Eugene. But Grail isn't having any of it. He just shoves his hand right in Belmore's face, basically telling him to shut up. Grail even throws some shade, pointing out there's no real contract signed yet, making Belmore look clueless. Word around the port was going wild about this night. People said he straight up tore a troll's head off with his bare hands somewhere in Tion territory, then rolled in with a crazy haul of dungeon loot. He brushes it off right away, thinking that spreading random rumors just to pump up prices is classic rookie stuff, and he's pretty sure he can call out those moves with no problem. Grail rolls in, full of himself, saying that the deputy manager from the Baleen Merchant Guild wants to meet Eugene face-to-face to sign the contract. He tells Eugene to get up out of this rundown spot, thinking to himself that Eugene's just some new knight who only knows how to throw hands, and that he's about to take him for everything he's got. Out of nowhere, Grail's whole face switches up. His eyes go wide. Dude looks terrified. He can tell that Eugene's giving off some insane pressure, and it's got him totally on edge. Eugene gives him this icy stare that's honestly kind of scary, and Grail suddenly realizes just how strong Eugene really is. Sweat was running down Grail's face. He looked pretty nervous, stumbling over his words as he tried to say sorry for being rude earlier. This time, he introduced himself properly as the secretary for the deputy manager at Baleen Guild, and made it clear that this was a solid chance for Sir Eugene. Eugene just looks at him, totally straight-faced, wanting to know what this opportunity is all about. Grail's all confused, trying to say his crew can hook them up with better deals on materials. But before he can get into the details, Eugene shoots him a look that basically says, "Okay, so what are these better terms?" Grail starts getting more tense when he mentions the deputy manager is going to step in. Meanwhile, Eugene just locks eyes on him, one eye lit up bright red, not breaking his stare. Grail just couldn't handle the stress anymore. He broke down, kept saying sorry over and over, and made it clear he never meant to be rude. Grail bolts out of the room, yelling out apologies and saying he'll come by next time, then just slams the door on his way out. Belmore stares at Eugene, tears rolling down his face. He can't wrap his head around the fact that Eugene actually turned down a contract with the deputy manager just for him. The moment hits deep, he's totally caught off guard by what Eugene just did. Belmore promised to back Eugene all the way from here on out. Hearing that had Eugene grinning, he felt good knowing Belmore was in his corner. Belmore gets hyped and wants to know when they can kick off the selling process. Eugene didn't waste any time. He just told Belmore they were starting right now and wanted him to head out with him. Belmore definitely didn't see that coming. Inside the fancy guild HQ, Grail kept his head down in front of the deputy manager. He explained that Eugene turned down the offer, trying to defend himself by saying, "Eugene really isn't your average guy, just like all the rumors going around." The deputy manager told him to look up, pointing out that knights usually mess with merchants just to keep up their image. She flashes a sly grin, pretty much letting everyone know they've got cash and stuff to throw around. Messing with Eugene? For merchants like them, that's going to be way too easy. The deputy manager glanced out the window and spotted Eugene just standing there in the street. In his mind, Eugene seemed like some broke knight who didn't even have a proper horse to ride. She sends Grail to deliver something to Sir Eugene, making sure it's the kind of gift that a knight with no cash just can't turn down. Back with Eugene, Villy just froze for a second when Eugene wanted him to stick around and help sell some stuff. Eugene double-checks his order, making sure the guy gets it. He wants him to keep selling any monster stuff Eugene brings over to Belmore. Vild sits there, clearly bummed out and not really getting why he has to stay back again. He starts thinking maybe he just doesn't have what it takes to keep up with Sir Eugene. He's already hyped to jump straight into sword training, ready to go right now. Eugene cuts him off and straight up asks what a squire actually does. Vild jumps in, totally pumped, saying he's got the knights back both in fights and just day-to-day stuff. Eugene just nods along, on the same page. Eugene gives him a serious look and lets him know straight up his main job now is to help out with whatever Eugene needs every day. Basically, he's on squire duty, handling all the errands and work stuff that come with it. Eugene lays out what he wants Vild to do. Basically, he tells him to sell the stuff he brought back from the fight to get some cash. He also tells Vild to link up with Belmore, the merchant, so he can learn how business works and figure out the details. Eugene heads out, letting him know Belmore's got what it takes to teach him in this area. Vild knows deep down that if Sir Eugene hadn't been around, he wouldn't have made it this far. So honestly, whining about something small like this just wouldn't sit right with him. Eugene catches on to what the kid's thinking, so he throws in a little bonus. Once they stack up some cash, he'll actually think about training him in sword fighting for real. Eugene glances over at him, kind of hinting that one day, Vild's going to step up for real and have his back in all those fights as his legit squire. Vild's eyes light up, and you can tell he's genuinely pumped and thankful. He puts his hand over his chest, showing he's all in with Sir Eugene's order, no hesitation. Eugene heads out of the shop, pockets basically empty after grabbing just the bare essentials. He can't believe how fast his cash is gone. It's like the money vanished the second he stepped inside. The fairy Miran buzzes around him, clearly annoyed that her wallet's totally empty now. It's got her feeling down, so she quickly tries to see if there's a way to make some quick cash again. Eugene comes to a halt right in front of a shop window, zeroing in on the shiny armor inside. Bertil checks out the full-plate armor, totally into how cool it looks. Like, for him, this is what being a knight is all about. Eugene notices and just wonders if Bertil's idea of romance is just about how expensive the thing is. Bertil explains that this thing isn't just expensive, it's something even the wealthiest knight families pass down for generations. He was deep in thought when someone screamed out, calling him boss, snapping him right back to reality. Robin comes sprinting in looking totally freaked out. He lets everyone know there's a huge swarm of wild monsters showing up right outside Miran City. Raban breaks it down, saying the monsters are rolling in from the eastern forest and they're pushing hard to break into the city. The guilds that are already out there are struggling just to keep things under control. Bertil tells Eugene they should just join the subjugation mission. Eugene, not really buying it, asks him straight up why he even wants to do this. Raban gets hyped and even squares up like he's ready to throw hands, making it super clear why he's so into this. When you take down wild monsters that aren't tied to a dungeon boss, you don't have to pay any commission. He's hyped up about Miran City since it's packed with merchants and cash everywhere, so it's pretty much the best spot to sell monster drops and loot for solid prices. Plus, you don't have to worry about paying to move your stuff around. Raban walks up to them, eyes looking wild, totally locked in on the cash. All he can think about is how massive the payout is. As soon as Eugene hears someone mention money, his whole vibe shifts. He doesn't waste a second and tells everyone to get going, not even pausing to think about it. They were just about to head out when someone suddenly jumped in front of them, yelling for them to stop. It turned out to be Secretary Grail catching them right before they left. Grail's catching his breath next to a horse, clearly wiped out, and can't figure out why everyone's in such a rush. Grail steps up, looking pretty hyped, and lets everyone know he's here to drop off a warhorse. The gift straight from the deputy manager, so it's kind of a big deal. Grail points out the horse's insane build. Its coat is all shiny black, and the muscles are stacked like it's been training for years. Just by looking, anyone can tell this horse comes from some serious champion bloodlines. Eugene didn't see this coming and started thinking maybe the deputy manager had actually sent it just for him. Grail catches that intense stare from Eugene again and instantly takes a step back, nervous. He quickly tries to explain they don't want anything back, his voice shaky. Eugene doesn't even pay attention to how stressed the secretary looks. He just walks right up to the horse, totally focused. Meanwhile, Grail keeps pushing that the gift is nothing special, just something to show they mean well. Eugene hops onto the horse like he's been doing it forever, not even hesitating. He nods at Grail, signaling for him to pass on his thanks to the boss. Meanwhile, the secretary just stands there staring at Eugene, totally impressed by what she's seeing. Eugene jumps onto the horse and takes off, moving crazy fast. Miriam's just hyped, yelling out in pure excitement, and tells him to come get the cash. Robin and Bertil just freeze for a second, totally blown away by how fast that horse took off. Robin's mind starts racing, trying to figure out their next move now that the leader already got there first. Bertil yells at Robin to hurry up and get moving, pushing him to catch up, but Grail just stands there, not saying anything, just watching them leave. Out on the east side of Miran City, deep in the woods, humans are caught up in a brutal fight against a wild pack of goblins. Out of nowhere, the quiet in the forest gets wrecked by the pounding of hooves. Eugene pulls up on his fresh black horse, not slowing down for anything. He just rolls through, mowing down goblins without a second thought. Eugene moved forward, sword in hand, taking down monsters like it was nothing. Heads dropped as he passed, and blood splattered everywhere, basically letting everyone know he was on the scene. Miran spots the huge crowd of goblins and knows right away this is way bigger than anyone thought. He figures the Miran Guild guys holding the front line probably didn't make it. Eugene's face goes serious, locked in and ready, since this whole thing is actually playing out just how he wanted. He rides hard, cutting through the trees with his horse, totally focused on his own goal. Sharing isn't really his thing, so he's all in, planning to grab every bit of loot for himself. The horse charges forward fast, hooves pounding the ground as he heads straight into the center of the fight. Eugene sees a blonde knight going all out in the middle of a bunch of goblins, holding his ground as the goblins keep swarming him. The knight stands his ground and just yells right at the monsters, calling them out as demons and daring them to try and get past him. He's not letting anything through unless he's gone first. He tried to stick it out, but there were just too many of them. His horse tripped and went down hard, sending him flying right into the middle of the enemy squad. The knight pushes himself up, coughing as he does, and lets everyone know he's a real deal, all-in knight, straight up repping Miran's name like it actually means something to him. His confidence just disappears the second he realizes goblins have boxed him in, and you can see straight up fear on his face. He yells as loud as he can, hoping someone will hear him and save him from the danger right in front of him. Right when things get intense, Eugene swings his sword down fast, slicing the goblin in half before it can take him out. Eugene charges straight into the chaos on his horse, slicing through the monsters around him like he's not even breaking a sweat. His sword moves so fast, it's like he's on another level, clearing out the last of the enemies without slowing down. Goblin arms and legs go flying everywhere, and the knight just stands there totally stunned as this random hero shows up out of nowhere. Eugene keeps moving, handling every threat like he's done this 100 times. He clears out his space, making sure nothing gets close. While everything around them is getting wild, the knight shoots him this weird smile, almost like he's got some unfinished business. He lets on that he owes the guy big time, then asks for his name right in the middle of all the madness. Right as he's about to respond, another goblin pops out of nowhere and tries to pull a dirty move. Eugene jumps in fast, handling it before things get out of control. Eugene just stares at him, not really caring about names at a time like this. He points out that if they end up dying here, none of that will even matter. The knight suddenly cracks up, realizing the guy was right, and just like that, his wild energy for the fight comes back full force. He stands back up, staring down the goblins and letting them know he's not done yet. If they somehow make it out of this nightmare, he's definitely getting their names. At the gates of Miran, this huge merchant city, things got insane. Hundreds of goblins swarmed in, just non-stop, but the defenders held it down and didn't back off, fighting until they couldn't anymore. While things were getting intense, the knight was locked in, taking out goblins left and right without holding back. The blonde knight stuck close, fighting right next to him the whole time. They pulled it off in the end and managed to keep the city safe. Once the fight wrapped up, everyone in the city started buzzing, trying to figure out who that mystery knight was who showed up and saved the day. The blonde knight steps up and lets everyone know his name, Jan Eugene. He's not shy about it at all, just owns it in front of the whole crowd. Everyone in the crowd is hyped, trading stories about what he did. People can't stop talking about how he straight up tore out a troll's spine, and now they're all looking at him like he's the main guy. All around the city, people start hyping up Jan Eugene's name. Up above, a guy with red hair and a big beard is just watching everything go down from his spot by the window. Louis Vallon, who used to speak for the Marin City Mayor's Guild, watched as Eugene's name started blowing up. He couldn't help but notice that as Eugene got more popular, trying to keep him in check was turning into a serious problem. For Louis, it was like every time Eugene's fame jumped, things got a whole lot messier. Louis Vallon checks in with his granddaughter Priscilla, clearly worried about whether it's really okay to just let things stay the way they are. Priscilla, though, doesn't even flinch. She's totally sure she's got it handled, saying everything's still under control. Priscilla grinned kind of sly as she told her grandpa she wanted everyone to keep talking about Lord Eugene. In her mind, when a knight gets more clout, he gets way more scared about losing it. She goes to her grandfather and checks if he knows about the air rolling with Eugene. Louis is already up to speed. He points out it's that same kid Eugene's been using to sell monster stuff to the guild under his own name. Priscilla drops some heavy news she found out from her grandpa. Turns out that kid is actually a secret son from the Tion family. Nobody saw that coming. Louis hears it and instantly clocks just how big of a deal this really is. Priscilla figures out that no matter what Eugene's really after, he's here to stack some serious cash for that kid from the Tion family. She points out that if they stick close to these two, they could end up tight with the person who might run the Tion family one day. Louis can't help but laugh, honestly impressed by his granddaughter's plan. She's got this whole idea about winning people over at night just by backing up that kid who's not even supposed to be part of the family. Louis, now running Marin City as mayor, figures he needs to send something legit to Lord Eugene, a solid thank you move for taking out that annoying monster that kept causing trouble. He lets his granddaughter know he's putting her down as the one who recommended the gift, hooking her up so she can look good and get closer to him. Priscilla really appreciates it and thanks him, feeling pretty happy about the boost. Priscilla sat back, sipping her tea like it was nothing, her mind drifting to this old saying she remembered, when someone's thirsty, they always find their way to water. Priscilla gets ready to start digging the well, deciding to just hang out and wait it out. As she settles in, she picks up on footsteps coming closer to the room. She keeps her eyes glued to the door, totally focused and not planning to move until they grab the water she's selling, no questions asked. Priscilla greets her guest with a big smile, letting everyone know he's the guy who pulled off that wild save in Miran City. Eugene steps into the room, rocking his new armor. Eugene showed up to thank her since she was the deputy manager of Valen Guild, so Priscilla kept it classy and offered him a seat. She sat there with her tea, sneaking glances at him. It was wild to her that a guy who looked that good could actually be strong enough to take down a troll like it's nothing. Priscilla starts to notice that he's nothing like any of the guys she usually runs into at night. Priscilla checked out the armor he had on, saying it looked like it was made just for him. She pointed out that the mayor had hooked him up with it, and she actually made sure it got made at the top workshop in Miran. She breaks down how the armor's built from this wild combo of Elsic iron and ghoul bones, so tough that even dragon fangs pretty much bounce right off. Eugene could tell she wanted his thoughts on the armor, so he just told her straight up. This gear was going to make their next dungeon run way safer. He kept it cool, not really showing any hype, just focusing on how the armor would help them out. Eugene's pretty grateful for the solid place to stay and the good food they've been getting. He can already tell his mercenaries look way healthier now, so he's thinking they're about to step up their game even more. Priscilla flashes a sly smile, clearly pumped that her gifts landed well with him. He lets her know he's not just going to forget about it, he plans to show he's grateful for how she's looking out. Priscilla spots her chance to pitch her idea, thinking this is the right moment. But before she can even get her words out, Eugene stands up out of nowhere. He cuts her off, says he's got stuff to do, and dips. Priscilla freezes for a second when he just dips out of nowhere. Eugene, already halfway out the door, lets her know that once the Tion family dungeon raid wraps up, they'll have a lot more stuff sorted out. Eugene keeps his focus straight ahead, making it clear where things stand. Right now, his deal only covers dungeon byproducts, so this could actually be the last time they see each other. Priscilla's jaw clenches, her frustration almost impossible to hide. Meanwhile, Eugene just shuts everything out and says he's all about grabbing those magic stones now, not caring about anything else. Eugene started walking off, but out of nowhere, Priscilla yelled for him to stop. Eugene pauses and looks back at her. Priscilla, not messing around, wants to know if there's still stuff they need to talk about. Eugene glances at her, his red eye glowing just a bit, basically trying to figure out what she's talking about, not showing any warmth at all. Priscilla ditched her fake nice act and stared him down, making it clear she wasn't about to keep ignoring what was really going on. In that moment, her real motives came out, and he could finally see what she was actually after. Priscilla starts going through all the stuff she's handed out, top-tier full-plate armor that's basically the best you can get in Miran, a purebred warhorse, fancy hotels, and high-end food for the whole crew. She's quick to mention that even with all the dungeon loot Eugene sold to the guild, it barely scratches the surface of what she spent. She shoots him a cold look, basically calling him out for not knowing that nothing in life comes free, making it clear he owes them big time. She keeps pushing, basically calling him out for being a shameless knight. She wonders if he'd even care what the people of Miran think, especially now that they look up to him like he's some hero, totally clueless that he might just be using them. She throws some sarcasm his way, calling him the hero of Miran and Lord Eugene. He just gives her that icy side-eye, not even trying to hide how annoyed he is. Priscilla steps up and basically calls him out, wanting to know if he's just going to grab what he wants and bounce. She's not letting him off easy, waiting to see if he can actually come up with an excuse this time. Eugene totally catches her off guard. Instead of freaking out, he just flashes this creepy smug grin, like her move was straight up funny to him. Eugene flips the situation on her. He calls her out for always dragging people in whenever she feels like it, handing them stuff they never asked for, and then expecting them to pay up for those same things. His eye lit up bright red as he moved in, tossing out the word merchant, like he was trying to flex on her, making it clear he wasn't about to back down. The room goes dead quiet, and the tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Bartik and Belmore just freeze, feeling the crazy pressure coming off this guy, and Priscilla's got sweat running down her face. Eugene made it clear where he stood before she could get the wrong idea. He let her know he'd already locked in a deal with the Balin Merchant Guild through Belmore, and as long as they gave him a fair price for his goods, he really didn't care what the people in Miran said about him. He hits her with her own words, reminding her that nothing comes free, then just lets her talk all she wants. He shoots her a cold stare, letting her know straight up that, as the guild's deputy manager, she's about to find out what paying the price really means. Eugene keeps going off, basically calling her out and making it sound like the Balin Guild is teaming up with Miran City just to mess over the knight who had their back. He throws out one last warning. If stuff keeps going like this, he doesn't think any knight will bother showing up to help Miran next time. He basically says he's done and walks off. Bartik steps in with this sly grin, acting like he's sorry as he says sorry to the deputy manager, but everyone can tell he's not actually upset about how things turned out. Priscilla finally gets it. She messed up big time. Looking back, she knows that if she'd played her cards differently, they could have teamed up and been unstoppable. Belmore glances at her, clearly on edge, and it hits her. She's not running the show anymore. Right as Eugene is about to head out, Priscilla's voice shakes behind him. She doesn't want him to leave yet. Priscilla lowers her head, pressing her hand to her chest. She knows she messed up and wants to show Sir Eugene she's actually sorry for stepping out of line. She realizes she got way too caught up in trying to control him and totally lost sight of what mattered. Now, she honestly regrets not showing him any respect and just wants a real shot at starting over. She comes up with a solution: stick with the current contract Belmore has, but add one line that guarantees whatever Sir Eugene Carey's worried about will never actually happen. Priscilla watches Eugene when he isn't looking, thinking back on how she's seen tons of knights drop their pride the second someone flashes a fancy sponsorship. Most of them just chase cash and clout, not even caring how they look. She can tell right away this guy isn't like anyone else. There's something about him that's just straight up dangerous, definitely not someone to mess with. She knows deep down, as someone who's always hustled, that letting him go isn't an option, no matter what goes down. Eugene pauses and checks her out, letting her know he's down to hear her out. He shoots her a quick look that says she better not waste his time. Priscilla gives a thankful smile, glad he let her off the hook and gave her another shot. After a while, Eugene pulled up on his new horse, looking pretty sharp. Miran, the fairy, zipped around him, clearly impressed. Even if Eugene was just showing off a bit, he definitely had the whole scene on lock. Miran can't hide how much she looks up to her master, pretty much hyping him up as the best out there. Meanwhile, Bartik, grinning wide, notices that Eugene just landed a seriously good deal. Eugene's down for it, and Bartik reminds him that the Bulleen Merchant Guild is no joke. They've got their main spot in Miran and branches everywhere, all over the Roman Empire. You really can't just brush them off. Bartik pulls out a map and shows how trading with nobles from demon territories, like the Tion family, is super important. He can't help but think it's wild. A merchant guild this big letting him roll into any dungeon or maze linked to their spots, no limits. Honestly, that's way better than getting backed by some noble family. Bartik's impressed by how Eugene handled those talks, thinking Eugene's got some wild negotiation skills. But Eugene just looks annoyed, not really caring about the praise. For him, the only reason he even talked like that was because the whole situation had him irritated. Right as they're talking, someone steps up and interrupts. This guy's got a rough voice and starts clowning on Eugene, making fun of his new armor and acting like just putting on some gear automatically makes you a knight. A huge, bald mercenary showed up, eyeing Eugene and clearly not impressed by his looks. He didn't think Eugene even knew how to hold a sword right. Eugene just stares at him, not even trying to hide how done he is. Meanwhile, Miran thinks the guy straight up looks like a potato, just spouting random stuff. Kamara showed up right then, basically pulling off perfect timing with their entrance. Eugene starts calling him Lord Tion now, but Kamara just tells him to chill and talk like they used to. He points out how much Eugene has changed in barely any time. Eugene wants to know what's going on, so Kamara tells him his brother's still not giving up. Now there are new mercenaries in the mix, but Kamara can't shake the feeling that something's off this time. Eugene brings up the mercenaries his brother used before, the same guys who tried to snatch Villid. Those dudes were shady from the start. Eugene checks out the new mercenaries, realizing they stink just like the last group. Kamara straight up picked Eugene to run point as the commander for this dungeon raid. The bald mercenary butts in out of nowhere, talking straight to Kamara. He wants to know if Kamara's planning to take over as leader if Eugene doesn't make it out of the dungeon. Kamara and the knights freeze for a second, not expecting someone to just say something that wild. The mercenary doesn't bother sugarcoating things. He admits he's not trying to be rude, but this isn't some chill hangout. Inside the dungeon, nobody's really safe and people can get wiped out fast, so everyone's got to stay ready for anything. The mercenary flashes a nasty grin, showing his teeth, clearly hyped to team up with Commander Eugene. Eugene barely reacts, just nodding and saying that if he dies, sure, the guy can take over. He throws in a jab, calling him Baldy, and you can tell the mercenary is about to lose it. But Eugene doesn't care, he just tells everyone to get moving. Miriam rushed over to Eugene, moving fast, trying to give him a heads up about the guy. But Eugene just stayed chill, letting her know he was already keeping an eye on the dude. Eugene catches on fast. Bertil's up to his usual tricks. He brought these mercenaries just to try and get Eugene out of the picture while they're in the dungeon. Heading deeper into the shadows, Eugene can't help but notice Bertil's plans just falling apart right in front of him. This was about to get wild, and he couldn't help but show a creepy, almost evil grin. Miriam starts laughing to herself, almost like she's plotting something evil once she figures out what Eugene's really up to. Eugene dives in, tearing through monsters with moves that look next level. Eugene moves through the crowd, not slowing down for a second, and arms and legs are getting tossed left and right. The bald mercenary just stands there, eyes wide, realizing right then that all the stuff he'd heard about Eugene being strong wasn't fake at all. While the rest of the mercenaries just chill in the back, Eugene's all the way up front, taking on the entire fight himself like he's got something to prove. The guy's basically handling what would take a whole squad, and everyone else is just watching. He sees Eugene as this huge shield always out front, clearing a path and keeping everyone safe from whatever comes at them. The bald mercenary clenched his jaw, annoyed that he couldn't just rush in. He had this blade covered in poison. One little cut and Eugene was done for. But no matter how hard he looked, Eugene wasn't giving him any chance to make a move. Eugene comes to a halt right in front of this dark doorway. He pretty much makes it clear past this spot, the monsters get tougher, all mid-rank. He tells everyone he can't look out for them anymore, so if anyone wants to keep going, it's totally up to them. Eugene shoots them a hard stare, his eye lighting up, and lets them know one more time. He's not messing around. If they want to tag along, they'd better be sure they can actually keep up. The bald mercenary looks over at his squad, kind of annoyed that they're just hanging back while the commander heads out solo. In his head, he's thinking this is the perfect shot to pull off what he's been planning. The other mercenaries get hyped and head out after him, but Bartik and Robin hang back, keeping an eye on everything just in case things get weird. Bartik can tell Sir Eugene's got something new up his sleeve this time. Right then, Eugene thinks back to the last time he stepped into this dungeon with Galfredik, the Beast of a Night. Now, without Galfredik around, everything just feels kind of bland. It's just not the same vibe. He remembers Galfredik standing out as a legit leader. He always stepped up when things got tough, taking on the riskiest jobs himself, and making sure his guys stayed motivated when it mattered most. Eugene can't help but wish Galfredik was around. If he was, they probably could have finished this dungeon, even with how weak these mercenaries are. Eugene can't help but think about how Galfredik would have handled this. He's low-key curious, just trying to picture what Galfredik would do if he were in this mess. Out of nowhere, Eugene just cuts the act and lets everyone know he's done pretending. He's over the fake stuff now. He lets the mercenaries know that if they're really trying to get themselves killed, they can go ahead and do whatever they want. Miran suddenly shows up and the mercenaries totally freeze. They're all looking at each other, trying to figure out what kind of creature just pulled up on them. Miran goes all out, blasting the mercenaries with non-stop water magic. The mercenaries totally lose it, yelling at each other to move before they get wrecked. Everything goes wild when someone yells at the monsters pulling off some magic, and suddenly there's pain and confusion everywhere, with darkness and smoke making it impossible to see straight. In the middle of all this chaos, the bald mercenary started yelling at his teammate, thinking he was being reckless and telling him to chill out before he ended up slicing him with his sword by accident. Eugene just starts taking out the mercenaries one after another. Meanwhile, one of the guys totally loses it, yelling that he can't see a thing. The fight got louder, swords smashing everywhere. The bald leader started yelling at his crew, telling them to fight back. Out of nowhere, one of the mercenaries freaks out after spotting something wild, yelling and questioning if that person is actually on their side. Painful screams echoed everywhere. Someone started yelling that his leg was gone. Eugene steps out of the shadows, his eyes lit up red. He just goes off, taking out everyone in his way, doesn't matter if they're monsters or people. The bald mercenary ends up stuck by himself, circles of enemies closing in. He fumbles for a magic stone to light things up, annoyed that it's way darker than he thought it'd be. He scrambles to rally his guys, yelling for everyone to stick close. He just stands there, and all he gets is total silence. That freaks him out. He can't figure out why everything's so quiet, and it messes with his head. Eugene walks up to the mercenary boss and checks if he wants some light. He looks at him with zero warmth, clearly noticing the guy's in a tough spot, but still offers to help out. Eugene stares at him, totally trolling, almost daring him to admit if his vision's any better now. The bald mercenary suddenly gets it. He can't even tell who's chasing who anymore. In this place, everything flipped, and now he's not sure if he's the one hunting or about to get hunted. He freezes, eyes wide, as Eugene flashes a wild grin and shows off his sharp teeth. The mercenary barely gets out one word, totally frozen in fear. He's looking at something that just doesn't seem human. Later on, Kamara storms into Eugene's room, pumped up and looking for him. Kamara hears the news and just freezes, not sure if he can believe what he's being told. Kamara and his brother Bertil pulled up to where all the noise was coming from. They didn't expect to see the mercenary maverick laid out on the ground, looking rough and bleeding everywhere. Bertil just stands there totally confused, staring at the guy he always thought was tough. Watching him like this throws him off, and he can't help but call out his name, not really believing what he's seeing. Maverick looks up, terrified and totally defeated. You can see it all over his face. He's basically breaking down as he owns up to what he did, letting it slip that he actually tried to take out John Eugene. Before Bertil can even process what's happening, Maverick drops the real reason. It was all because Bertil Tion told him to do it. Bertil starts sweating hard and scrambles to fix things, insisting the guys totally lost it. Kamara lost it and started yelling at his brother, demanding to know just how far he was planning to take things. Bertil snaps back, dodging the question and telling his brother to snap out of it. He doesn't want him falling for some random crazy talk. Bertil walks up to Maverick, who's lying on the ground. His stare is straight up intimidating, letting Maverick know he needs to chill out and talk straight. Right then, Maverick's head is going wild. His eyes start glowing red, and it's clear something's messing with him, like some kind of magic or fear he can't shake. He just can't believe he almost went after the master. Out of nowhere, Maverick just lost it, yelling about how he was useless and didn't deserve to live. He made a run for the window, catching Bertil totally off guard. Bertil tried to stop him, but everything happened way too fast. Maverick launches himself off the edge, not even hesitating. Maverick slips and ends up getting stabbed by one of the statues. Kamara and the rest stare down from the balcony, frozen as they see Maverick's body just lying there. Bertil doesn't waste any time and calls out how the guy totally lost it after watching people get shredded by those monsters. He tries to get his brother on the same page, saying it's wild to believe any of this stuff. Kamara catches a strange look on his brother's face. Instead of looking surprised, Bertil actually looks relieved that the only witness is gone. That just makes Kamara even more suspicious. Bertolt gets heated and flips it on Eugene, basically blaming him for making up stories and acting like he's out to get him. He even throws shade at Eugene's reputation as a knight, trying to hit where it hurts. Eugene steps in, totally unfazed, cutting Bertil off mid-yell. He just stares him down, eyes sharp, and wants to know straight up if Bertil can honestly say he's innocent as a knight. Bertil holds it together, but you can tell he's barely keeping his anger in check as he nods. Eugene decides it's time to pull out his big move. He points out that Bertil's already putting his honor and reputation as a knight on the line. He steps up and asks for a trial by combat to settle things once and for all. Bertil just froze for a second, not believing what he was hearing. His head started spinning and he could feel himself getting heated. This whole thing just put him on the spot and he had no clue how to get out of it. As the sun started going down, everyone in the castle heard the news. Word got around fast about the second young master setting up a trial by combat in the front courtyard, all because he brought in an assassin. People couldn't stop talking about it. People around the place started whispering about Bertil, saying he really went too far this time. Maids and soldiers were trying to figure out who he was after. Eugene steps out into the courtyard, geared up and ready for action. Everyone around figures out pretty quick that the target is actually the new knight the Lord just brought in, Sir Jan Eugene. Bertil stands across from him, holding his sword tight. You can see he's on edge, his face showing just how mad and tense he is right now. The ref steps up and says things are way too messy, so the only way to settle it is with a duel. Whoever wins gets the truth on their side like it's all up to fate. Eugene grabs his sword without breaking a sweat, just as the ref announces that whoever's honest is going to win this thing. The fight kicks off, and Bertil goes straight for it, launching himself forward with a strong attack. Eugene steps up and blocks the attack like he's been doing this forever, stopping the blade right in its tracks. The sound of swords hitting echoes across the square, grabbing everyone's attention. Bertil goes all out, swinging hard and fast, trying to finish the fight ASAP. Every hit lights up the room, making it clear he's not holding back. Bertil goes all in, muscles tensed and face tight, really trying to smash through Eugene's defense. Out of nowhere, Eugene's old memories start coming back. He thinks back to Bertil losing it, yelling like crazy that he found the vampire and saying they had to tell the Holy Knight, Sir Lim Deerheight, right away. Eugene's blood boiled as he thought about it. He'd spent more than 10 years running from someone who turned out to be a total lightweight. Things get wild fast. A fight breaks out, swords smashing into each other with sparks flicking everywhere. Bertil's face totally changes up when he realizes he just can't keep up. His opponent's speed is next level. Eugene goes all in with a hard swing, landing a hit so strong that Bertil stumbles back and can't help but let out a yell. Eugene reacts fast, blocking every swing Bertil throws like it's nothing. Then he flips the script with a quick move, catching Bertil off guard. Bertil loses his grip and his sword drops to the ground. Eugene just stands there looking stone cold and scary, making it clear he wants Bertil to grab his sword and keep going. Bertil's hands are shaking, he's embarrassed and hurting, but he knows he can't back down now. Eugene checks out how his opponent fights and has to admit, Bertolt actually knows his way around a sword. This time, the gap in strength was so clear that even people who usually didn't care about duels could tell. Jan Eugene was way stronger than the Lord's brother, like on a whole different level. Eugene goes in quick and slices Bertil's hand clean off with his sword. Out of nowhere, Kamara yells loud enough for everyone to hear, making the whole squad stop in their tracks. Eugene shoots Kamara a glare, clearly annoyed. He motions for Kamara to chill and not step in, making it obvious that the fight isn't finished yet. Kamara jumps in and makes it clear he's not about to just stand by and let his brother get taken out. With Bertil down for the count and unable to keep fighting or defend his side, Sir Jan Eugene gets the win. Bertil's down on his knees, blood running down, but he's not giving up. Even though he's hurt bad, he's still fired up, yelling like he's ready to get back up and take down his enemy himself. Kamara steps in and shuts him down, letting him know it's over since the decision's already been made. Kamara tells his brother it's time to own up to what he did as a knight. He wants him to admit everything and take the hit with jail time instead of ending up dead. Bertil totally snaps. He starts yelling at his brother, super pissed, and just wants him to stop talking. He can't believe he's stuck dealing with this and wonders what he did wrong to end up here. He snaps and goes straight for Eugene, yelling his name like he's lost it. Bertil totally puts the blame on him, thinking that everything went downhill the moment he showed up. If he'd never come into Bertil's life, all this embarrassment wouldn't even be a thing. Bertil, totally losing it, goes in for another attack, but Eugene's way too fast. He's already out of the way before Bertil even knows what happened. Bertil's just lying there, totally confused about why his body isn't doing what he wants. His head hits the floor. He spots his body just lying there, and it suddenly hits him. He gets what just went down, and it's straight up terrifying. Eugene took him out with one clean swing, not even hesitating. He stood over the guy, totally unfazed, and basically made it clear he should have taken the last shot his brother offered. Eugene heads out of the square while everyone's still processing what just happened to Bertil, who's left there looking done. Kamara stares down at his brother, lying there on the ground, and just shakes his head, thinking how dumb he could be sometimes. Eugene strolled down the castle halls, thinking about everything that just happened. While he was walking, Miran popped up and wondered if all that effort was pointless. Eugene wants to know what she's talking about, so she explains she means the mercenary Maverick, how he made Maverick a thrall, turned him into a vampire, and then just tossed him aside. Eugene lets everyone know things didn't really go down like that. The guy just couldn't handle the change. His head wasn't strong enough for it. If Eugene let him stick around, people would have caught on real quick that he turned into a vampire. Eugene points out that Maverick was basically used and tossed aside just to pull Bertil into a fight. Eugene looks at her with zero emotion, basically letting her know he's not the type to go easy on anyone who comes at him. Miriam just shrugs it off, thinking that's exactly what you'd expect from a vampire who doesn't feel anything. No blood, no tears, just straight up savage. Miriam starts going off about how real vampires gotta have tons of slaves to show they're actually powerful. Eugene just shrugs it off and says he's not interested. She starts roasting him, acting like he doesn't get what's cool at all. Eugene cracks the door open, low-key annoyed at how much hassle it is dealing with weaklings just to boss them around later. He can't help but wish there was at least one person around he actually vibes with. He thinks back to someone he really looked up to, then catches someone in the room asking what's up with Galeric. Eugene storms into the room where Priscilla and Belmore are hanging out. Priscilla wants to know from Belmore when Galeric showed up, so Belmore tries to answer, but he's clearly on edge. He tells her things are kind of wild right now, but also lets her know it's already been 2 weeks. Belmore and Priscilla freeze when Eugene just shows up out of nowhere. Belmore gives Sir Eugene a solid welcome, nodding at how he crushed the dungeon again. Eugene just gives a quick reply and keeps it moving. Eugene doesn't waste any time and quickly asks what went down with Sir Galeric, looking pretty stressed about it. Priscilla looks serious as she lets him know that Galeric was actually helping out with clearing a maze in Count Evergrove's territory just 2 weeks back. She drops the news that he straight up vanished by himself in that maze. They searched everywhere in the mid-level monster zone, but dude was just gone, which only points to one thing. She ends up regretting that he never made it back from the high-level monster zone. The story moves over to this fancy palace, where this stylish guy greets Eugene. He's heard all the stories floating around about Eugene, but seeing him in person, he thinks Eugene looks way younger and better than he thought he would. Eugene appreciates how chill Lord Jiffion's been, but he keeps it real and points out what's actually going on right now. Jiffion Evergrow, the oldest kid in the Evergrow family, shows up and waves him in. Jiffion looked back on it and kinda wished things went differently. Sir Galeric really pushed it too far. Yeah, they were ready to give him a title if he pulled off the mission, but nobody expected him to solo the upper floors like that. Eugene just stands there, totally frozen, running it back in his head because he can't believe what just happened. Jiffion lets everyone know what's up. Turns out, Galeric from the upper floor just rolled into spots the Evergrow family hasn't set foot in for a whole century. He mentions quietly that the place is where the Maze Master actually lives. Someone else points out that the Maze Master isn't just hanging out in the maze, he actually runs the whole thing and calls all the shots. The guy keeps talking, calling out how Galeric got way too hungry for credit and ended up making a dumb choice that messed things up for a bunch of people. Juffian points out the guy and says he's Sir Lugatz, one of the knights from the territory who fought alongside Galeric during that big fight before. Lugatz spots Eugene and gives him this sly grin, already acting like he knows something. Word's out that Eugene took down Galeric in a duel, and Lou can't help but notice they actually kind of look alike, something nobody really saw coming. Lugatz shows off, letting everyone know he's the Evergrow tournament champ. He basically throws it out there that he took down Galeric in that same event, so now they both have that connection. Eugene looks at him, not really caring, and basically questions if any of this even matters at the moment. Jiffion just brushes off how annoyed he is, pointing out that this actually shows how much they all need Sir Galeric. He tosses out an apology that's obviously not real, just trying to keep things smooth. Eugene wants to know what's up with Galeric these days, since the two of them used to be tight back in the day. Eugene's thoughts were basically roasting this guy in his head. Tion stepped in, looking dead serious. He let Eugene know he had his back, reminding him he came all this way as a real friend, and told him to really pay attention. Tion lets everyone know his family's been trying to check out the maze's upper floors for the past 100 years, but every time someone goes up, they just vanish. Because of that, the family rule is simple. If someone's missing for over a month, they call it and say that person's gone for good. 3 weeks had already flown by since Galeric went missing, and Tion wanted to make sure Eugene was actually getting how serious this was. Time was running out. If they didn't find Galeric in the next week, it was game over. He knew everything was pretty much over. Nothing was going to change that. Eugene jumps up, ready to head out right away, but Tion tries to chill him out, pointing out that the maze isn't somewhere you just walk into like it's your neighborhood park. Tion lets Eugene know that Sir Lugatz is going to have the whole team ready to roll in just 3 days. He tells him to chill out and get some rest until it's time. Eugene just sits there for a second, not saying anything, clearly thinking it over. Eugene was cool with it and gave Tion a quick thanks, but Tion wasn't done. He still had one last thing to ask. He says he just brought a witch onto the team and wants her to help out on the mission. Pretty sure she'll actually come in clutch. Now the story jumps to the busy city streets. Miran storms down the sidewalk, clearly annoyed. In his head, he's roasting Lugatz, calling him a pointy-headed dude who seriously needs to learn some manners. She's totally losing it, yelling about how people probably think they're weird, but in reality, they're actually pretty awesome. She even threatens to roast his massive nose, all fired up. Meanwhile, Eugene just stares forward, ice cold, not even paying attention to her rant. Eugene zones out, thinking hard about everything that's happened. None of it really lines up in his head, and he can't stop replaying what Galeric said before they split up. Eugene still remembers the day Galeric said he'd get his official spot from Count Evergrow if the maze campaign worked out. Galeric even asked Eugene to roll with him so he could get introduced around. Eugene's mind was spinning. Galeric already said he got the title and was on his way to Evergrow, all set for that mission. So why did Eugene just get thrown into a totally different maze campaign out of nowhere? Eugene knows the guy way too well to think he'd just throw himself into something for cash. If that dude was actually heading out, he'd have his squad ready and be super careful about every move. But before Eugene can even finish that thought, he hears chaos breaking out. Shouting and screams. Something serious just went down. Eugene looks over and spots some dude in a mask yelling to the crowd, hyping everyone up about the Messiah showing up soon. The man keeps going, totally fired up as he talks to the crowd. He warns everyone about a time when the moon turns red, saying that's when the goddess of victory gets mad and decides to wipe out the whole place. The guy lets everyone know the disaster's already started. He points out all the constant shaking happening by the maze, and that's where a ton of monsters have been dropping non-stop. He drops some news that grabs Eugene's attention. A top-tier knight vanished in there not long ago. Miriam leans over to let Eugene know this fight lines up perfectly with what those palace folks were talking about. The guy starts yelling, telling everyone to throw fresh calf blood at the gate and leave some old meat there as an offering. He tells everyone that the Messiah will show up later and save this place, which is already a mess. In the middle of all that, someone starts thinking if this is just some wild cult stuff. Miriam's got no clue what these people are even talking about, kind of lost in the moment, but Eugene's picking up on something weird. His gut tells him this village just isn't right. Something's definitely off here. A follower walks up to Eugene and slides a pamphlet into his hand, basically telling him to watch out for some serious consequences if he doesn't start believing soon. Eugene checks out this leaflet about monsters dying from earthquakes by the maze. He starts thinking maybe some part of the maze caved in or something. Eugene starts thinking that maybe monsters are slipping out through some cracks. Still, he can't figure out why Galeric would just vanish if that's what's going on. Eugene suddenly tells Marion to get ready. They're heading to the maze right now. She didn't see that coming at all. Eugene decides 3 days is way too long to just sit around, so he's already planning to jump ahead of everyone else and start searching on his own. He's ready to clear out anything that tries to slow him down. Out of nowhere, someone speaks up behind him, clearly not expecting to run into a vampire here. Eugene's eyes go wide, he didn't see that coming at all. Out of nowhere, some dude in a cloak showed up, grinning like he was up to no good. He started messing around, acting like vampires were basically wiped out around here because of the Holy Night guys. The guy looks at Eugene, kind of surprised that he just strolls around like it's nothing, even when everyone can see him. With the preacher still yelling about the Messiah in the background, Eugene grabs the guy and pulls him out of the crowd. He shoves him hard up against the wall, not holding back at all. Eugene grabs him and doesn't let go, staring him down with this intense glare. He wants answers. Who is this guy, and how did he spot Eugene right away? Eugene shoves the guy up against the wall, his hand tight on the dude's neck like he's not messing around. The other guy's struggling to breathe, trying to get Eugene to ease up so he can actually answer. The mysterious guy could barely get the words out while someone had him in a tight chokehold. Struggling to breathe, he finally admitted that he was part of the Blood Shadows. Miriam, the fairy, catches that name with her sharp hearing. It sounds weirdly familiar, and then it suddenly clicks. She remembers exactly what it means. The memory hits her so hard that she just screams, caught off guard by what she just realized. Miran sprinted straight at Eugene, yelling for him to chill out and block him from taking this person out. Miran's voice is straight up panicked as she lets him know the guy's actually a mage, and Eugene just freezes for a second, totally caught off guard. While she's talking, she points out that these guys are Blood Shadow's mages. Their whole squad has been working for vampires for generations, and she makes sure he gets that as she runs through the details. The mage blacks out from being choked, so Miriam just kinda looks at her, a bit bummed that she's out cold. A few seconds later, the witch snapped awake, instantly furious with Eugene. She started yelling at him, pissed that he just went straight for her without thinking. She wanted to know how she was supposed to say anything when he had her by the throat like that. Eugene stands there, totally embarrassed and stumbling over his words, trying to say sorry. Miriam's got his back, though, calling out how the witch started it with that messed up attitude. The witch chills out for a second and finally says her name, Serenoa. Sereno tells them she's from the Blood Shadows School, a group of mages who basically work for vampires. Because of what they do, they can spot vampires right away, no cap. She's actually pretty hyped to meet someone from the Dark Clans. She mentions she'd been sent to find him because young Master Jifion asked her to. That's when Eugene finally gets it. She's the witch Jifion was talking about earlier. Serenoa keeps talking, mentioning how Jifion said Eugene and Sir Galfredic are super close. Eugene just gets more annoyed hearing it, thinking about how he's definitely going to shut Galfredic up the next time he sees him. Serenoa finally lets everyone know why she really showed up. She was actually there during that exploration campaign too. She lets him know she was actually there when Sir Galfredic disappeared, so Eugene, clearly curious, wants her to spill all the details about what went down. Serenoa starts sharing her story, saying she jumped into Count Evergrove's campaign because she really needed monster materials. Everyone knew Evergrove Maze wasn't something to mess with. It had a reputation for being dangerous. But since people first found it like 100 years back, they pretty much cleared out most of the danger zones except for the upper floors. So, moving ahead, nobody really stressed about it too much. The deeper they got, the whole maze started rumbling like crazy out of nowhere. An earthquake just hit, shaking everything up. Serenoa remembers that wild moment when the ground just gave out under her feet. She was standing there, and suddenly, everything dropped. She almost went straight down into nothing. Right when things got serious, Sir Galfredic was holding down the back. He jumped in and took the hit for her, saving her but going down himself. She can still picture the way he yelled when he went down, calling her out and telling her to watch out for that door below. In the end, she knows she only made it because he had her back. Sereno points out that she's the only one who didn't buy the story about the earthquake starting when Sir Galfredic opened the gate upstairs. Everyone else was convinced that was the reason. She figured she owed him big time, so she thought the least she could do was let his buddy Sir Eugene know what was really going on. Serenoa honestly never thought Eugene could be a vampire, so now Jifion's story just isn't adding up for her. Eugene starts thinking about whether Jifion straight up lied to him, or if the whole story just got twisted along the way. Serenoa snapped him out of his thoughts, dropping some scary news. She'd actually seen something down there. She lets everyone know she spotted a giant eye deep down in the dark where Galfredic disappeared. Eugene just froze, trying to figure out what that eye even was. Serenoa jumped in and backed up what she saw, making it clear he wasn't the only one who noticed. He thinks back to those weird flyers the cult people were handing out in the square earlier, and Serenoa suddenly pops into his head. She notices the eye she spotted in the maze matches the one drawn on the leaflet. Meanwhile, the cult members are busy doing their weird rituals in the background. The last scene gets intense. The priest totally loses it, yelling for blood and meat like it's nothing. Someone ends up getting sacrificed right there on the altar, all because they believe this savior is supposed to save them. Out of nowhere, in total darkness, a dude's face pops up. He's got this creepy grin, whispering some weird stuff, hinting that something big is about to go down. The square is packed during the day, with workers hauling barrels of food around. Somebody steps up and lets everyone know that everything's set. The mercenary volunteers and Templar knights are all there, just waiting and ready to move out right away. Eugene's just standing there with everyone else in front of the massive maze gate, the crowd buzzing around him. Lugatz looks over and checks if Eugene's hyped to see his good friend again. He jokes about not wanting to drag his friend's body back, but Eugene just shrugs it off, letting him know Galfredic isn't someone who goes down that easy. Out of nowhere, Lugatz just cracks up and starts yelling about how Sir Galfredic is actually super dependable. Eugene figures if it was his call, he would have jumped into this maze way earlier. Deep down, while that weird eye symbol kept popping up in his head, Eugene started to get the vibe that Galfredic didn't just vanish by accident. He knew he had to keep an eye on this guy from now on. Eugene thinks back to the time he spent with Galfredic, remembering how his friend managed to push through for 3 weeks. Now, Eugene figures if Galfredic could handle that, then he should be able to tough it out for just 3 more days. His thoughts get interrupted when a bunch of masked guys show up and nod at him, catching him off guard. The guys said they were Templar Knights from the Evergrow Monastery. They were hyped to meet Sir Eugene, and honestly, just being around someone as dedicated as him felt like a big deal to them. The leader keeps hyping him up, really impressed that he was down to risk it all for his friend, and even asks him to team up and fight for God. Meanwhile, Miriam can't help but throw some sarcastic shade about calling a vampire holy. Eugene just hits them with a cold reply, telling them to go all out. Eugene heads off, and Legatz just can't help himself. He throws out a sarcastic remark about how it's not every day you see Templar Knights, who are usually all about following God's orders, actually pay attention to a regular knight like that. Legatz couldn't help himself and started messing around, telling Eugene he should switch things up and become a holy knight later. Eugene just pictured in his head, all sarcastic, what it would be like to roll with the title Vampire Holy Knight. Eugene's face goes serious real quick. He gets on the comms with his mercenary captain, Bartik, to drop some fast directions. Meanwhile, inside the maze, the commanders tell their guys to chill for a second, grab some water, but stay sharp and ready to move back to their spots. No one's letting their guard down. Miran zipped around the waterfalls, clearly impressed by how cool everything looked and how the place just felt alive with water vibes. Meanwhile, Eugene stayed quiet, just taking it all in without saying a word. Eugene looked around and realized this place was totally man-made, not like those wild dungeons he'd seen before. It actually seemed possible to survive here, especially since there weren't many monsters hanging around. Eugene runs through what could go wrong in his head, realizing that someone could totally hide out and last a while in a maze like this. Legatz glanced over at Eugene, thinking this spot pretty much had bad vibes written all over it, like the kind of place where shady stuff just happens. He wanted to know if Eugene felt the same way. Legatz just brushes off whatever Eugene says and starts hyping up how good Eugene is, pointing out nobody got taken out on the trip here. Eugene, not wasting time, just gets straight to the point and asks Lou how much farther it is to where Galfredic went missing. Legatz throws a shady smile, telling Eugene to chill out since he already said he trusts Galfredic. Eugene and Miriam just glare at him, not hiding how annoyed they are. Legatz, acting like he's got everything under control, says Eugene should just trust him now. He claims the Evergrow family already found every single trap in the maze, like they've got the whole place figured out. Eugene flashes a sarcastic grin, basically calling out how people keep ending up dead no matter what's said. Legatz just gives a low, kind of evil laugh, not really denying it. His eyes lit up with this weird, almost evil vibe as he wrapped up what he was saying, talking about those deaths like they were some kind of offering just so he could make it out alive. Eugene's eyes lit up bright red as he looked at Jiffy and Legatz. Out of nowhere, he picked up on something weird going on. The ground starts rumbling hard, and rocks start dropping from the ceiling. The soldiers just freeze, trying to figure out if they're actually in the middle of an earthquake or something. Legatz suddenly yells for everyone to get ready, letting them know the maze is starting to shift around. Legatz quickly gestures toward this massive wall that's shifting around with all sorts of gears and parts, letting Eugene know this is exactly where they're supposed to be. Massive gears start spinning and the walls literally move around, opening up a new route. Legatz lets everyone know this is the spot where the walls keep switching up every second, and if you want to find the shortcut up, this is where it's at. Rocks started crashing down everywhere, and Serenoa couldn't believe it when the ground split open right in front of them, making a path. He turned to Eugene, completely caught off guard by how wild things just got. Eugene looked straight at Legatz, trying to figure out where this shortcut is actually supposed to be. Legatz just grinned, looking almost proud of himself, and pointed straight at the spot where Eugene was standing, making it clear that's exactly where the path started. Out of nowhere, gears started spinning, and the floor just opened up right under Eugene. Eugene suddenly gets it. The earthquake wasn't just some random disaster, it was actually a setup, and Legatz had used the same trick before to catch Knight Galfredic and make him look guilty. As he tried to figure out what Legatz was up to, Serenoa totally lost it and started freaking out. Her hand shook as she pointed at something up ahead, clearly rattled by whatever she saw. Eugene's eyes go wide, and you can tell he's pissed. He spots his friend Galfredic tied up with ropes, blood everywhere, lying on this stone platform that looks just like a cross. Eugene darts over, moving crazy fast to help him out. Eugene quickly looks over at his friend and sees he's still breathing. He knows he's got to move fast and get him out of there right away or things could get way worse. Miran, the fairy, gets a weird vibe and lets her master know something's off in the area. She could tell something was off. There was this weird, unfamiliar vibe coming from deep down in the abyss. Out of nowhere, a heavy gust sweeps through, and Serenoa starts thinking about where it even came from. Out of nowhere, two glowing eyes lit up in the middle of the dark, catching him totally off guard. Out of nowhere, this massive monster showed up, wrapped in this creepy purple glow. Every time it moved, the ground straight up rumbled. Serenoa freezes up when he spots the Minotaur, his mind racing like, what is a beast like that even doing here? While he's still trying to process it, Eugene doesn't waste any time, telling him straight up to keep Galfredic safe. Eugene takes off, running straight at the monster. Eugene hops from rock to rock, making his way up to the monster's massive head. Eugene goes for his shot, but the monster suddenly blasts him with a crazy powerful move that sends him flying. Eugene gets launched across the air from the hit, crashing down hard and hurting all over. The Minotaur towers over everyone, gripping its weapon that's basically pulsing with dark energy, looking like it's about to wreck them all. Eugene hugged the wall, eyes locked on the monster as he tracked every move, staying ready for anything. The Minotaur swings hard, trying to smash Galeric while he's tied up and can't move. Eugene bolts over, not wasting a second, determined to pull his friend out before the attack lands and wrecks him. He stretches out his hand, yelling Galeric's name, trying hard to get through to him. Out of nowhere, a magic barrier pops up and blocks his way. Eugene gets heated, trying to figure out what's even going on. Serenoa stands just behind the barrier, yelling out that this Minotaur isn't just any regular monster. It's one of the top-tier ones, way above most advanced monsters. She yells out, barely holding it together, saying that even a vampire would get taken out if he tried to deal with this head-on. Eugene stands there, sword aimed right at Serenoa's neck. His eyes are lit up, showing how mad he is, like he's ready to snap. He lets her know straight up that she's gone way too far this time and totally overstepped. Serenoa's hands were shaking as she apologized, but she stood her ground. There was no way she'd just stand back and let a vampire run straight into danger. She knew rushing in without a plan against something that strong was basically asking to lose. Serrano tells Eugene that if he really wants to help Sir Galeric, he needs to chill out and think things through before doing anything. She can't believe there's actually a Minotaur here. She looks at the maze, thinking it's way too small for something that huge. Honestly, she was expecting the toughest thing here to be a Cyclops, not this beast. Eugene scans the room, his face tight with anger, while the whole place feels super intense. Lugats jumps in out of nowhere, acting all sarcastic and pretending he's shocked that the witch can actually pull off earth magic. He keeps talking trash to Eugene, calling him weird and acting like all he can do is mess around making chimeras. He even throws shade about how Eugene almost didn't make it last time, saying Sir Galeric basically saved him. Eugene gives him a cold stare, eyes narrowed and intense, muttering his name under his breath like he's barely holding it together. Lugats finally lays it all out, showing he's got some messed up plans. He calls out Eugene, saying he never really cared about saving his friend in the first place, kind of throwing shade about how everything went down way too fast before. Meanwhile, Lou's crew closes in around him, making the whole scene way more intense. Eugene finally puts the pieces together and figures out that Lou Getz is the guy who wrecked Galeric's life. Now he knows for sure who made things go downhill for him. Lou Getz straight up says he set up this meeting just because he could tell Eugene was really missing his close friends. Lugats put his hand on Eugene's shoulder, thinking this guy was way ruder than everyone said he'd be. Eugene totally surprises him, grabbing his hand hard and just yanking the glove right off. Serenoa picks up on this weird vibe, and right away, Eugene gets that the insane power Lugats just showed isn't his own. Serenoa doesn't hold back. He lets Eugene know, loud and clear, that the mark on Lugats' hand isn't just for show. It's some kind of magic that can actually move power from one person to another. Serenoa lets them know this magic started out as a way for people to pass their powers between each other. But once folks started messing around and pulling powers from non-human creatures, it got totally banned. Lugats just laughs off the whole forbidden magic thing, thinking it's basically a lame excuse made up by people who want all the power for themselves. He acts all cocky, saying they're the special ones who'll make it through when everything goes downhill for everyone else. Eugene catches on quick. He figures out Lugats just used someone else's power to beat Galeric. Then Lugats had the nerve to brag about winning like he did it all by himself. Eugene's eyes lit up with anger. He was dead set on showing Lugats exactly where he stood. Eugene charges straight in, moving crazy fast, and slams into the enemy crew. The impact sets off this wild burst of energy, like the whole place just got hit with a thunderclap. Serenoa freezes up, caught off guard by how intense the energy feels. He can't help but wonder if a regular vampire could seriously pull off something this wild. Lugats grinned, totally sure of himself, knowing he made the right call by keeping his strength under wraps. Then he landed a heavy punch, showing everyone he wasn't playing around. Eugene just stands there, taking the hit, totally stunned and not really processing what's going on. Lugats sets off one of the traps, making it clear he's not playing around or planning to back down in this fight. Serenoa totally loses it when the ground gives way beneath them. Lugats yells out while everything falls apart around him, letting everyone know he's already got all the traps in this maze figured out. Lugats stands over Eugene, grinning with this messed up look while everything around them is trashed. He tells Eugene to just give up and stay down. Eugene calls out for Serenoa, and she quickly throws up a barrier. He wastes no time and uses it as a springboard to launch himself forward. Eugene shoots up way faster than any normal person, closing the gap to Lugats in no time. Eugene pops up right in Lugats' face, smashing straight through the wall that was closing in. Lugats totally freezes. He's straight up terrified. Eugene lifts his sword and aims it straight at Lugats' face. Lugats just freezes up, not saying a word, just staring at Eugene, totally caught off guard. Lugatz has to admit to himself that all the stuff people said about Eugene's strength wasn't just hype. Watching what just happened, he realizes Eugene's power is way beyond anything he thought possible. He realizes that if he'd just gone straight at them, there was no way he could count on winning. Using Galfridic as bait without actually taking him out ended up being the smartest move he could make. Lugat's grin turned wicked as he let everyone know the last sacrifice was about to go down, ready to wrap up the ritual for good. As they dropped, the witch Serenoa threw up some magic shields to keep them from hitting the ground too hard. She whips around, totally caught off guard, and spots Eugene sprinting away from her. She calls out, voice unsteady, trying to figure out why he's suddenly headed the other way. Serenoa can't hold it in. She just screams, overwhelmed by the pain and all the mental stress hitting her at once in this total disaster. Serenoa's mind just kept looping the same thought. She should have played it cool and dipped out while she still could. But the guilt kept eating at her, so she stepped in, and now she's deep in this wild mess with no easy way out. She looks up and sees Eugene right in front of her holding Galfridic, who's completely out cold, in his arms. Eugene looks at her, eyes locked in, wanting to know if she can actually save this guy. Serenoa, feeling the pressure, admits she's not really good with healing magic and gets a bit nervous. Eugene just looks at her, eyes cold and serious, making it clear he's not cool with her answer at all. Serenoa catches his stare, and it honestly freaks her out. She lets out a tired breath, realizing she doesn't have much of a choice, so she nods to give it a shot, even though this really isn't her thing. The whole time, she's standing there with red liquid pooling around her shoes, feeling totally out of her element. While all this is going down, Miran, the fairy, is stressing out. She tries to get her master's attention and lets him know she just checked the whole place. There's seriously no way out. Eugene looks around and sees there aren't any breakable walls anywhere. That's when it hits him. He's made it to the end of the maze. This spot is just a closed-off boss room, nothing else around. Miriam suddenly cuts him off, saying she's got something way more important on her mind. Miriam gestures at the red stuff around them. At first, she figured she could handle it since she felt some water energy, but it turns out this isn't normal water at all. It's actually a pool of blood, and it's got a totally different vibe. She realizes she can't control it like she expected. Eugene checks out the stone cubes with eyes carved into them and suddenly gets it. This is what Serenoa saw before when he was way down underground. Miriam finally spills why she can't do anything. Her power only works on blood from people who are already gone, so if she can't control this blood, it means whoever it belongs to is still out there, alive. Out of nowhere, something huge and honestly pretty scary rises up from the blood. Serenoa freaks out, her hands shaking while she tries to patch Galfridic up. Eugene just stands there, eyes glued to whatever weird thing is in front of him. Eugene tells Miriam to look for a way out fast, and she doesn't waste any time getting on it. Standing right in front of Eugene is this massive monster, looking straight up demonic with its huge horns. Eugene sees that Galfridic's still down bad and can't even move, so he steps up to handle the situation himself. Eugene's sword starts glowing, and he knows his best shot is to hit the monster hard enough to freeze it in place. The monster goes off, firing a bunch of super quick, razor-sharp blood shots right at Eugene. Eugene's fast like blink and you'll miss him. He's weaving through everyone, making it look easy. Eugene keeps dodging every hit like it's nothing, just waiting for his shot to make a move. Eugene swings his sword with everything he's got, but it smacks into something solid way tougher than he expected. Eugene let out an annoyed grunt when he saw his hit barely did anything to the guy's defense. The monster's jaw drops open, ready to blast out a wild energy beam. Eugene sees what's coming and instantly moves, dodging hard so he doesn't get smoked. Eugene drops to the ground, moving smooth and ready. He locks his gaze on every move his opponent makes, already knowing this fight's going to be tough. Eugene dodges each hit, moving quick and smooth like he's got parkour skills. Eugene jumps and lands clean on one of the stone pillars, barely dodging the monster's swings. Eugene checks out his sword, sizing it up, and just knows it's not going to do anything to this thing, not even leave a mark. Eugene figures he's got to handle things himself for now, so he powers up, covering his sword with this intense red glow that basically turns it into a totally different, way more dangerous weapon. Eugene bolts from where he's standing, launching himself forward so fast it's almost hard to track. He's all in, flying straight at his target, ready to land his move. He slams his huge, blood-covered sword straight down on his enemy, slicing a long cut into the monster's body. Eugene clenched his teeth, annoyed when he saw that the hit barely scratched the monster and didn't really do any real damage. The monster doesn't hesitate and slams Eugene with a brutal hit, launching him across the floor. The impact is so hard, he starts spitting up blood right away. He suddenly drops hard to the ground. Serenoa stayed locked in, doing everything he could to help Galfridic. He pushed himself hard, hoping Galfridic would wake up, knowing his close friend was in serious trouble. Eugene kinda hated to admit it, but Serenoa had been right. This monster was just built different, way stronger than anything he'd faced before. The demonic monster towers over the burning wreckage, flames lighting up its massive figure. Eugene stands there, looking way smaller in comparison, trying to pull himself together and get ready for whatever comes next. Eugene looks up just in time to spot another attack heading straight for Serenoa and his friend. He's annoyed, knowing how tough it is to deal with something like this. The monster slams Eugene hard, and the hit is so brutal that Serenoa just loses it, yelling his name in pure panic. Eugene's breathing was rough, his face smeared with blood. That old powerless feeling washed over him again, something he knew way too well from his past life. The monster locked eyes on Eugene, its claws ready to go. Eugene just sat there, annoyed and confused, trying to figure out why all this was happening to him. Eugene wonders why getting hit now hurts way worse than before, even as he takes every blow. Eugene drops to the ground when one of the hits actually lands and goes through him. He looks down, still stuck on the same question running through his head, why? Out of nowhere, while Serenoa is still working on the guy lying in all that blood, Galfredic's fingers start twitching. Then, just like that, Galfredic's eyes snap wide open. His blue eye catches the light as he stares, trying to process what's going down right in front of him.
Lately, I've had a strong addiction to watching manhwa and manga recap videos. Every single day, I find myself binging one after another, losing hours and days doing absolutely nothing productive. And honestly, it's getting out of hand. So, maybe we can make these viral videos too. I mean, look at the views, the growth, the community these creators are building. It looks simple, right? But that's a trap. You go down this endless rabbit hole, spending money, losing sleep, hiring editors and writers from Fiverr and Upwork, and still feel like you've been robbed. Because don't forget how emotional the YouTube algorithm can be with making videos go viral. It's unpredictable, especially when the market's saturated, competition's relentless, and somehow other creators are dropping 10-hour videos daily while you're stuck trying to finish one. That's when I realized something had to change. So, I built the solution, the Web2 Narrative Suite, a complete one-click system that handles everything from cropping, script narration, text-to-speech, image processing, and full video generation in one smooth process. Save money, reduce hours of work, and have a tool that only gives you straight results. Click on the link down below and experience it for yourself. And if you want even more tools to supercharge your YouTube recap journey, visit my Ko-Fi and Patreon pages where I drop weekly new tools designed to keep you ahead as AI continues to steal our jobs. So tap in now before you get left behind.